Crazy day, crazy night. Greetings, good evening, how you doing? Welcome into Beyond Ringside Back to Basics on this 19th day of May, 2015. 3 minutes after the top of the 8 o'clock hour in the Central Time Zone. Magic City Motor Mouth Fast Eddie Layne behind the control panel. It's going to be fun tonight. Get on the horn. Call your friends. Facebook them, IM them, DM them, tweet them. Doesn't matter. We're going to have some fun tonight. In just a few minutes from now, yes, I'm from Alabama. I can say it like that if I want to. Ha ha, ha ha, ha ha. From there, in just a few minutes from now, at about 8:15 Central Time, 9:15 Eastern, going to be welcoming back a good friend of the show. A lot of you will know him as the host of Legends Radio. A lot of you will know him as the host of Legends TV out of the Big Apple Market. And of course, as the associate producer of the major motion picture release called The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke, Mr. Evan Ginsberg is going to be joining us right here. Me and my other 47 personalities. I'm just used to saying it like that for Sunday. From there, coming up at the top of the hour, that's going to be 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 9 p.m. Central, going to be joined by a great friend of the family, Bambi Weavil with Masters of Ring Entertainment. Great live event coming up this weekend. Like I said, stick around, stay a while. We're going to have some fun. Thank you for joining us on the live side, whether it be through BeyondRingside.com, through Shoutcast, Winamp, TuneIn Radio, Ustream, and of course, the Beyond Ringside Radio app available for Android, BlackBerry, and Amazon devices. Thank you to everybody who's been checking out the replays, especially through iTunes, Podomatic, Stitcher, Spreaker. I do have the updates done over at BeyondRingside.com on the media page. Working on updating the news section as the day progresses. Was having internet trouble earlier today, and unfortunately, I did not get a chance to get everything done. Still have a couple of episodes I need to get finished as far as the load-in goes. I was going to wait to do this especially because of time constraints, but I'm going to go ahead and lead with this right now, because I want to go ahead and break it down a little something like this. There's an 800-pound gorilla, and I'm not talking about me coming off my diet, which that's an on-again, off-again proposition. You know, last night on Raw, when John Cena issued his open challenge and Kevin Owens stepped out, I'm pretty sure, because I was watching, the IWC, the Internet Wrestling Community, broke the internet. And it had nothing to do with Kim Kardashian, Taylor Swiftler, or Justin Bieberball. When Owens stepped out, when he was signed by WWE, think about it like this. It was not the stereotypical hire. And needless to say, it was also not the conventional hire. A lot of folks said that he was definitely not the typical WWE body style. Personally, I commend the WWE on the hire of Kevin Owens. I thought that it was something that could be inspirational to a lot of people. It also showed that the WWE does pay attention when someone has been doing it right. Look at some of the hires that they've had. Think about this. Whether it's Pac, think about it. Okay, fine. We'll just run down the names. Neville, Finn, Hideo Itami, Sami Zayn. Look at it. And bringing in Steen on top of that, and some of the other personalities and performers they have on the NXT level, and that have been making their move up to Raw. I like it. I appreciate it. And this is where I'm going to sit back and say this. The recent hires that they've brought in, the new class at the Wellness Center, the new cast for Tough Enough, everybody that they're putting into play. For everybody who is training right now and in their first few years, or even if you're a 10 to 15 year vet, 20 year vet, if this doesn't push you mentally to push yourself physically to become even better at what you do, knowing the fact that, yes, the doors are opened a little bit wider now. Get out of the sport. Get out of the business. Don't waste our time. Veterans. Don't waste the public's time. The public wants to see people giving it everything they've got every time the bell rings, whether there's 20 people, 200, or 2,000, or 17,000. Everybody in that locker room, if you get into pro wrestling without having the aspiration to be the absolute best at what you do, Quit spinning your wheels. That's legit, kids. No matter what part of this business I've been a part of, I want to be the absolute best at it. Whether it was in ring, whether it was refereeing, whether it was announcing, whether it was managing, it doesn't matter. In my current role with Global Championship Wrestling as commissioner and on-air personality, I want to be the absolute best at what I do. I push myself, and I take myself not as seriously on me side, but on the talent side, because I know what I can do. I take it seriously enough to where I want to do better every time I hit the mic. Last show, everybody's saying, dude, loved it. I want to do better than that this time. I want to do much better than that this time. Friday night, Buffalo Wild Wings. Great crowd, a lot of fun. I want me to do better next time. This past Saturday night, Jake's Pelham. We're coming back to do it again this Saturday, the 23rd. I want me to do better this time. It doesn't matter what I do. I want to get better. I push myself to get better. I'm a student of everything that I do so that I can get better. Coming back over to it, I'll be honest. When Owens stepped out, I had a hunch he wouldn't be fighting Cena last night. There was a part of me that hoped it might happen, but I also knew that NXT had Unstoppable coming up tomorrow, Wednesday night. And after the injury to Sami Zayn, I'm pretty sure that the brass was feeling that they had a direct line to the heartstrings of a number of fans. There is an emotional investment in play from a lot of people. If Owens would have lost that match to Cena, it would have taken a lot of the steam and the luster from the NXT title match featuring Owens and Zayn. If Owens would have won, who knows what people really would have been thinking? Would they have let Owens go over Cena on Monday night only to have him lose to Zayn on Wednesday? I'm not above the concept of thinking that Owens would go over Cena, then go over Zayn on Monday and Wednesdays respectively, due to the simple fact, remember, Carlito made his first appearance on SmackDown and took the U.S. title from Cena in his first appearance on television, in ring. So it's not unprecedented. It's happened before. Now, there's some very tricky things. Now, granted, when Carlito made his debut to the time that Kevin Steen walked out last night on Raw, Kevin Owens, I'm sorry, it's a knee-jerk reaction on my part. And I don't do it to everybody. But here's the thing, and before I go any further on my side of the coin, I'm going to lay this out there real quick. And I know we're at 11 after the top of the hour, and I'm about to take a short break in just about 3 minutes. There were discussions on this station, on the To Be Determined show and on Beyond Ringside Live, between myself and the Wicked Nemesis as it pertained to then Kevin Steen. Wick was not a huge fan of Steen because of the fact that he was a bigger guy, but he was a fan of the fact that he was a bigger guy who knew how to work as a bigger guy. He wasn't the stereotypical bodybuilder guy, and I'm not sure what the overall mindset that Wick had going into that was, because professional wrestling is made up of so many diverse body shapes, men, women, and everything in between. It really is. And that's one of the reasons why I like pro wrestling as much as I do. Look, when Big Country Roy Nelson lost all the weight that he did in the UFC, I started to cry because it's like he lost his individuality. Granted, it was probably a good thing for him. And if he did it of his own volition to where he wanted to make a change in his physical appearance, that's fine, that's great, that's wonderful. If he did it at the behest of Dana White, to hell with Dana White. Granted, he has the purse strings, he has the checkbook, he has the stroke. But to put the world in proper perspective at this point, Roy Nelson was a great box office draw and a good fighter too. So he didn't have to trim down and muscle up to garner the approval of the fans. The fans were already in Roy Nelson's corner. As Steen has made his way through the ranks and signed in, coming over to Kevin Owens, his body style has pretty much been the same, but the thing about it is his talent continues to increase, and he was damn good when he left ROH. And I've watched some of the stuff. Look, I pay attention. And I don't look at things through, and this is going to be something that I'll talk about a little bit later. An epiphany hit the other night about expectations and the way we look at things. I've been watching everybody comment on social media from this past Sunday night, the Payback pay-per-view. Everybody, there's a ton of people who shared my sentiment. It was better than I thought it was going to be. I had no expectations going into Payback. You can ask Mabo, you can ask Wick, you can ask Stan and Corey from over at Smart Rage. From Wrestle Rage. Sorry. It was a last minute thing for me to even watch the pay-per-view. But lo and behold, I started watching at the pre-show, and I watched it from start to finish, the entire thing, and I was actually impressed. It was a good show. I'm not going to say it was better than I thought it was going to be. It was better than I expected it to be, because I didn't think about how good it might be or how bad it might be. I was neutral. I didn't lower my guard. I didn't lower my expectations. But let me go ahead and, I'm going to go ahead and run the rest of this real quick. I have it prepared. Look, I don't care what anyone says. And coming back to the Cena Cena Owens, it's easier to say like that. I don't care what anyone says. WWE played it right. I haven't said they played it perfectly, but I will say they did the right thing at the right time to build up potential viewership for Unstoppable even more than it already was. The icing on the cake was the verbal dialogue between Cena and Owens when Cena made the comment about advice, and Owens bit back with, "You don't get to give me any advice." I'm pretty sure that half of everybody watching came out of their chairs. The only drawback to that exchange, remember, John Cena is, I have to agree with what Michael Cole says. Cena is that polarizing. You had people over the last few months who had been coming back onto the Cena bandwagon into the C Nation. And in that one statement from Owens, you had people right back to where they were who couldn't stand Cena. Then when Owens kicked Cena and hit the pop-up powerbomb, people were cheering Owens. It's a double-edged sword, kids. Remember, Owens has major heat down in NXT. WWE conceivably cost themselves a little bit of that heat in the exchange with Cena. Is it enough to hurt the chemistry going into the NXT title match? Good question. It really is. I'm going to come back to that, and I'm going to go ahead and finish that statement up in just a few minutes. Right now, going to go do a quick break, and when I come back, slated to be joined by Mr. Evan Ginsberg. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a great time. Right here, Back to Basics rolls on in just a minute.
That's a rock and roll model, the hair metal heartthrob, your favorite wrestler, Matt Sexfells here, and you're locked in to Beyond Ringside Radio.
The To Be Determined show live Wednesday nights, 9 Central Standard Time. Join myself, the Oracle of Ominous, the Wicked Nemesis, the Grand Design, Clyde Braddock, and the Magic City Monroe, Fast Eddie Layne, as we take you to the edge of uncensored. Yes, we go uncensored, so make sure you have your earmuffs. Ask your parents, for those of you that are a little young, maybe under 18, but make sure if you have any heart conditions or any mental defects, please listen, because they may take effect right here live every Wednesday night, 9 Central Standard Time. Beyond Ringside Radio Network, BeyondRingside.com.
This is Merciless Ray Mercer, Olympic gold medalist and board member of Find a Dream, and you're locked into Beyond Ringside.
Sunday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern here on BeyondRingside.com. Join us for the Midnight Black Mass. Myself, the Reverend Dan Wilson, brings you the dark gospel of professional wrestling, uncensored, unedited, uncut, and not for the faint of heart. You can find out more about us at youtube.com/pottyhumor or subscribe at Potty Humor on iTunes and Stitcher today.
This is Danny Cage from the world famous Monster Factory, and you're locked in to Beyond Ringside.
Hey, half-heads, it's a 3-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion, Scrapline Adam Pierce, and just like me, you are locked in Beyond Ringside.
On a topsy-turvy Tuesday night, Try saying that 3 times fast without the influence of Cuervo 1800 Silver, which is actually a very good cocktail. Straight out of the bottle, or actually straight out of the glass. Don't drink it straight out of the bottle. Cuervo deserves better than that. Fast Eddie Layne behind the control panel, 21 minutes after the top of the hour. Thank you once again to everybody catching us on the live side, whether it be the Beyond Ringside Radio app, available for Android, Amazon, and BlackBerry devices. Apple is coming soon. We're just working out the details right now. I promise you that. And as soon as you do, as soon as everything comes to fruition, look for the mushroom cloud. That will be probably purple, because that's the color I am when I'm happy. And I'll be elated when the Apple app is available. Like to welcome in a good friend of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot of you are going to know him as the host of Legends Radio. A lot of you are going to know him as the host of Legends TV out of the New York market, as stated a few minutes ago. And he is also the associate producer for the motion picture The Wrestler, Mr. Evan Ginsberg. Mr. Ginsberg, welcome back in. Glad to have you on board.
Thanks, Eddie. Pleasure to be back.
Now, we were talking a few seconds off air, and I was making a reference to the pay-per-view which took place this past Sunday night for WWE, or the $9.99 per view, as I now call it.
Right.
And something hit me like a ton of bricks when about 3 days before, the day of, and after the pay-per-view, I realized the fact that I could go into this one with no expectations and no preconceived notions about what I'm going to be looking at other than the talent base that's going to be on the pay-per-view. And I've thought about this over the last couple of days, and I would love your input on this. Do we put an unreal expectation, a too high or a too great of an expectation, on the things that are around us nowadays, especially pro wrestling? And I'll even take that over into the category of music on this topic.
Personally, as far as wrestling, as a jaded old school fan who's been attending wrestling matches for 41 years, since June of 1974, when I first saw Blassie and Nikolai against Bruno and Strongbow at Madison Square Garden.
Nice.
Seeing the best of the WWF. Later, the NWA out of Philly and Baltimore and Jersey, the NWA at its peak with Flair and the Horsemen, Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express. Later, ECW at the ECW Arena, etc., so on. When I watch a WWE pay-per-view, my expectations are so low that I expect nothing, and when they give you something, I'm okay with it. I thought Payback, I thought the main event was very enjoyable. I thought the tag team was absolutely fine. I think Cesaro is a tremendous athlete, probably the most consistent guy they have. Cesaro and Rollins both. I think they're both very consistent, and the team of Cesaro and Kidd, excellent team. I thought Sheamus and Ziggler was perfectly enjoyable. All in all, it was an entertaining show. It's kind of popcorn for the mind. It doesn't really leave you with much the next morning, but it's like watching a superhero action film. You enjoy it while it's on, and it isn't profound. It's not going to be life-changing the day after, but for a couple of hours of entertainment, I basically enjoyed it, as opposed to Raw and SmackDown and TNA, which generally several hours of your life you'll never get back.
Yeah, I've thought of that one once or thrice myself. And that's one of the reasons why I've gotten so high on Lucha Underground and Ring of Honor. I know that you and I spoke recently, and you said that because you changed over your system, you weren't able to catch Lucha Underground. But I think I told you in the off-air chat that I was actually able to find their El Rey network on YouTube, and they've been posting some of the recent episodes, which has been a godsend thanks to my DVR not wanting to play right. Thanks, Charter. But
yeah, when I switch from Time Warner to Verizon, they do not carry the El Rey network, and I really enjoy that network. I like the old Shaw Brothers Kung Fu flicks, and Lucha Underground's tremendous. I know a lot of old school fans aren't into Lucha because they feel the moves are too choreographed and such, but these guys are tremendous athletes. Wrestling is like apples and oranges. What Abdullah the Butcher does or did in his prime is not what a Daniel Bryan does or did. And, it doesn't mean you can't enjoy both. And I've been to Lucha in the Auditorio de Tijuana. I've seen Lucha Libre shows live, and they're just tremendous. And Lucha Underground is great TV. I mean, I don't think the skits are particularly brilliant, but the wrestling itself is. And Ring of Honor, I brought Ring of Honor into The Wrestler when we made the movie. And, I think the Ring of Honor of several years ago with Nigel McGuinness and Austin Aries and Daniel Bryan, a.k.a. Bryan Danielson, and Morishima, and all the great Japanese wrestlers, I think that promotion was as great as any promotion I've ever seen. And even today, I think they're excellent. I mean, they just did those shows with New Japan Pro Wrestling. And, Ring of Honor treats wrestling as an art, not as a circus. And when I watch TNA with such a great talent base, wasted, with all the meaningless skits and promos and run-ins, and it's just let these guys wrestle. Some of these guys are tremendous wrestlers. Just let them wrestle.
That was something, and you brought up the movie, and that's something I've been wanting to ask you. When it came to looking for, and you made the reference to bringing in Ring of Honor as well as some of the other stars, what was one of the major things that you yourself were looking for as far as the talent itself? Was it the capability of running in ring as far as all the physicality goes? Would it be able to carry and the dialogue, or was it a combination of both?
It was an interesting experience on my end because I was basically the wrestling guy. I did 6 casting calls, and I brought in, with the exception of Afa's guys, Afa of course was training Mickey, and Afa brought in several of his guys who were tremendous. I brought in the majority of the wrestlers in that movie, including Ron Killings and Necro Butcher, etc., so on. Of course, when we were looking for Necro Butcher, it was a hardcore type, and we had interviewed also Low Life Louis Ramos and other hardcore wrestlers for that. But when I did the casting calls, I was basically bringing in a variety of sizes and shapes, and of course, when I spoke with Darren Aronofsky, I would emphasize, Nigel McGuinness is as good as anybody on planet Earth, and I would encourage him to use certain guys. But ultimately, it was interesting. Some of the talent was picked because cinematically they had a certain look. They couldn't tower over Mickey Rourke because that would, affect his credibility. Some of the guys were just too big, and it was interesting. It was. I was going from an old school, this guy's the best wrestler, this guy's a pure wrestler, and Aronofsky was sort of, well, we need a good wrestler, of course, but we also want a certain look on screen. So it was a learning experience on my end, that it didn't come down to just what you could do in the ring. It was a bigger picture than that.
And also, I would have to ask if some of it had to do with chemistry, because you can have the right shape, the right size, you can be this great in the ring, but you can also... have we ever dealt with, I'll use the word prima donnas in the world of pro wrestling who just seem to grate people the wrong way?
Well, interestingly enough, that sort of thing was more with the actors and production people. What I saw working on this movie, which is a valuable lesson for anybody in the arts, is, let's say somebody was late once. Late. Okay, you have, the technicians, you have the food guys, you have 125 people on set, And this is a low-budget movie. Of course, like on the Avengers, it's going to be magnified 100-fold.
Yeah.
But, okay, so you have 125 people being paid to make a film, all right, if not more. All right, so so-and-so is late. So Aronofsky and the executive producer, the money guy, would say, listen, you really have to be on time. It's, there's a lot going on here. And let's say they were late again, and they were spoken to again, and suddenly, somebody wouldn't be working there anymore. So it was, and I also was privy to, if so-and-so's difficult, making a movie's difficult enough, and we just don't need ego or attitude or, somebody who's unreliable. And, this was addressed. But, the wrestlers themselves were very professional for the most part, except for, the occasional moron who thought the $25 indie payday was more important than a reading with a world-class director.
Wow.
So they no-showed the reading to, work an indie show. And I had explained this, like they couldn't even grasp this because an actor would die to read for a Darren Aronofsky, and, they couldn't fathom this at the beginning, but after the fourth or fifth time, they kind of understood that wrestlers were a different breed, and that $25 indie payday was far more important than trying to be in a movie that's going to be seen for the next 500 years.
Yeah, and and that's something that I've always found curious, because as time has gone by, I mean, I'm 49 years old, and next year I'll be Methuselah. I'm just kidding. At least in I'm 49 going on 18 going on 173.
Hey, I got a few on you. Don't feel bad. Yeah.
I've noticed that it not just in pro wrestling, but in a lot of different walks of life, we're losing the concept of genuinely planning for tomorrow under the concept of living for today and seeing what we can get in the here and now and not worrying about tomorrow. Are you seeing that?
There's nothing wrong with living for the moment, but at certain things you just have to weigh and say, okay, for example, I'm the associate producer on a documentary called 350 Days, which is about the old school legends being on the road 350 days, away from their family, on Christmas, on Thanksgiving, 4 graduations, etc., so on, and what a tough life that is, and how this hurts the families, and the relationships between the wrestlers and the kids on occasion, etc., so on. So, there were times when I just said, okay, well, it's an indie film. I'm not getting rich from this, but, this is something that's going to be preserved. This is something that people will see, hopefully forever. I'm assuming from what I'm seeing, it's going to be a quality film when it's released. And to make, not to be long-winded, but the point being, on such and such a day, that would be the priority, because you're looking at it as this is something that preserves your name, 1, because you're in it, and 2, because you're helping to make it. And, sometimes your legacy, when you're involved in the arts, okay, you're doing a radio show tonight. Well, this radio show theoretically can be listened to 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 50 years from now.
Right.
If people see the value in it. And, so you're preserving something. I've done radio for the longest time, and, I'm finding that many of my guests have died. They've died, okay? I've interviewed on air Lou Thez and Fred Blassie and Vern Gagne, Eddie Guerrero, Art Barr, etc., so on. I mean, besides tons of people in the arts, and and eventually they pass, and you go, okay, well, those tapes are floating around somewhere. People can listen to them if they care to, and so it means more than maybe doing something fun that night. You created art, and hopefully art survives.
I can understand and genuinely appreciate what you just said on that one about some people that we've had the privilege of interviewing not being with us anymore, because a few years back, and I genuinely call this a blessing, having had an opportunity and going into it, I was, okay, I'm guilty of this one. High expectations because I was ready to have some fun. But that was my expectation, was because I knew in my heart it was going to be fun when we had Ox Baker on.
Oh, yeah, I interviewed Ox several times and did tons of conventions with him on the East Coast. And, what a colorful, larger-than-life, the guy was tremendous. And, yeah, he just passed, and you interviewed him. And, 50 years from now, somebody could be listening to your podcast, your radio show. And it's, I think creating art is something that's important. And, sure, instead of doing that show that night, you could have been out with your family or whatnot, but in the grand scheme of things, you created something that's going to survive, and I think that's great.
You bring up music and the performing arts a minute ago, and I'd like to change gears just for a second. And being currently a DJ, and I do everything from karaoke to wedding receptions to birthday parties to nightclubs, and if it wasn't for the Ask It BMI rule, I would be playing more music here on Beyond Ringside. But I've noticed something that is really taking another weird turn. We both remember the scandal of Vanilla Ice and the sample of the Queen track Under Pressure for Ice Ice Baby. And also the follow-up trouble that he almost got into for using Satisfaction. Now, in this era, in this timeline, right now, some of the hottest hits that are being played on the radio, I'm noticing this happening all over again. Now, I don't know if you've been familiar with the situation between Sam Smith and Tom Petty for Stay With Me versus I Won't Back Down. But there's a couple of other tracks that I've noticed. And have you heard the song Dear Future Husband by Meghan Trainor?
I can't say that I have, but I was very interested in the whole Robin Thicke, Marvin Gaye scenario because I'm a huge Marvin Gaye fan. And first time I heard that cut, I go, hey, that's Marvin, got to give it up. And all of a sudden, Robin Thicke's voice came on. I said, excuse me?
Yeah.
So, it's interesting. I went to see 82-year-old Bobby Rush yesterday, who's an R&B great, blues-based, tremendous performer. Even at 82, he did 2 hours last night. Incredible energy. And he actually said on stage that he I forget which song it was, but he said the Beatles took a note and kind of flipped it around and used it for Come Together from another artist. And, it's a thin line between imitation is the sincerest form of flattery and straight out, borrowing or taking, or some people would even say stealing. But, it's... But sometimes when a song sounds exactly the same, I'll tell you, Nile Rodgers from Chic, I hear songs and I go, my God, those are, Nile Rodgers chords. I don't care what they call it. He has a very distinctive sound.
Well, for me, it's like the song Dear Future Husband by Meghan Trainor. And the first time I heard it, I'm sitting back going, that's Run Around Sue by Dion.
Yeah, I love Dion. Dion's still out there. He's in the 70s. Guy's great.
Still performing?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Absolutely. He's like a youthful 70s. He's got energy. Great live performer.
Very cool. And I'm sitting back going, and I've done the homework. I've done a little bit of homework. I can't say I've done it all, but I looked for liner notes. I've looked at the credit sheet, and I'm sitting back going, I did not see anybody in Dion's camp credited for the music itself. And there's been a little discussion. It's like, well, that's not a Dion song. That's Meghan Trainor's song. It's like, I'm talking about the music, Nimrod. The lyrics are hers. The music is somebody else's. Now, look, for me, you're right. Imitation is the most sincere form of flattery when you go through proper channels.
Yeah, well, there could be, you could be inspired by somebody. I mean, God, how many R&B artists have been inspired by Marvin Gaye?
Oh, yes.
But that's different from, just straight out taking the notes and singing over them. Hip hop, the DNA of hip hop is James Brown and Roger Troutman from Zapp and George Clinton and, other people as well. The James Brown tune "Funky Drummer" has to be on several thousand hip hop songs. But if you're paying the artist or after they pass the artist family for the rights, that's one thing. If you're just plain stealing it and using it to make money, it's not right. But you could have a sound that's inspired, but it's different than just listing notes. It's I'm not a lawyer, but like the first time I heard Robin Thicke's song, I go, man, that sounds just too much like Marvin Gaye's "Got to Give It Up." I'm sorry.
The thing about it is, when the artists go through proper channels, and they use those bites like the Marvin and Tammy, like the Dion Runaround suit, or like there's another one that Uptown Funk, Mark Ronson and company. It has me thinking about flashback to One Way and Frankie Smith, stuff like Double Dutch Bus and things of that ilk. And I'm sitting back going, I'm hoping that but I'm hoping that the after effect is turning on a brand new group of people, a brand new generation to the classics. Because that's something.
Oh, George Clinton from Parliament Funkadelic is 73 years old, and he's very grateful to the rappers for sampling so much of his music because it's kept him, current and out there and constantly touring. Atomic Dog became, Snoop Dogg's theme.
Yep.
This just kept him relevant to a whole new generation of listeners, and there are kids young enough to be his grandkids who are P-Funk fans today because the rappers turned them on to it, and so there's a positive side to it. Besides the residuals, of course, which a lot of these guys have used, have kept them solvent. I mean. Some of the rappers have even used the old, the Dramatics and these 70s vocal R&B groups for some of their ballads, and again, that's kept them current. And everything's a mixed bag. There's a good and bad side to everything. So if you talk to the artists themselves, some of them will say, we're very grateful that they've sampled us and paid us, and I think where it becomes iffy is when they haven't been properly paid.
Right.
When you have to chase them down for it.
Right. When you have to sit back and say, okay, fine, guess what? We'll see you in court. Now, and we bring up the word legends, which I'm going to take this over to two of your projects. Because you had been hosting Legends Radio, which I'd listened to a number of the episodes. You can catch them on Spreaker and Stitcher, and a number as far as the live and the replays go, or especially the replays. Because that's one of the things you brought up, the factor of things being out there for posterity, and when people get a chance to go back and listen to some of the episodes that you've had out there, it's fun. It's a great chemistry, and you have always managed to put together such an eclectic group of guests for the show. I'm always flabbergasted. I'm sitting back going, what? Yeah. You've got how many different genres of people coming on the show? It's like, I'm envious, but I'm also sitting back going, he's a much better man than I am in this regard because I don't think I could juggle that well.
Well, I grew up in New York on Joe Franklin. I don't know if you saw him in other parts of the country, but So Joe Franklin just passed, and as a kid, Joe Franklin would have on Lou Albano and the Valiant Brothers and Bing Crosby and, and absolute nobodies, and they'd all be sitting on the couch together, and I'm like, this is bizarre, but this is great. And I think, for example, I did radio out of New York on a 50,000 watt station, WBAI FM, for 16 years, and my radio mentor, Fred Giabold, the late Fred Giabold, loved pro wrestling. He grew up with the Bruiser and the Crusher in the Midwest, and Gagne, of course, and he called wrestling the proletarian performance art, theater for the people, theater for the, and he said that pro wrestling, with it back then very simplistic, good versus evil, and evil would win at the beginning, but ultimately good would conquer evil, and he said this was theater, and he had no problem mixing wrestling with any other artistic genre. And when he brought me on to his show in the early 90s, I'm like, wow, I could put an author, a jazz musician, a wrestler on the same show, and they could all respect each other and interact. And the other thing is, you just said you're pushing 50, and I'm in my 50s. And, growing up in a different era, radio itself was not as regimented. Like, I grew up on a DJ called Hollywood Frankie Crocker out of New York, who also passed. And Frankie Crocker would have jazz and salsa and R&B. It was an R&B station. It was a black station, and we would listen to Frankie, and Frankie, all of a sudden, he'd be playing a song in Spanish, and he'd be playing a jazz classic. He'd play Moody's Mood for Love by King Pleasure, which was a 50-year-old jazz tune, and it's like, okay, he's playing that with James Brown and Al Green and Marvin, and why not? Why not? What law says you can't? So, I come from an era, and back in the day, of course, you had concerts where a B.B. King, who just passed, would be on the same bill as the Who or the Stones, and it wasn't an issue back then. Today, okay, this is a country station, this is a rock station, this is a hip-hop station, and never the twain shall meet, which I think is kind of sad. And the same at concerts. You would not see, 99 out of 100 times a blues player on the same bill as a, let's say, rapper or a rocker. They just don't mix them anymore, and I think it's sad. I think an intelligent adult like yourself would love something that's an eclectic mix. And I found this with wrestling fans, both sides of it. I found wrestling fans who are like, wow, this is great. He's got a rapper next to a poet, next to a wrestler, and they're all being treated with respect.
Right.
And I've had wrestling fans like, oh, this has nothing to do with wrestling. I have no interest in this. Well, I just skip right through this because, they're embracing narrow-mindedness. And sometimes older folk, I'll see people in their 50s, 60s, 70s who will make, stupid comments like, oh, there's been no good music since the Beatles. Well, gee, isn't that a little narrow-minded? There's been no good music in 50 years. Come on. Come on.
There's been some great music. There's also been some songs that have bit the big one, but that's to be expected in any generation.
Of course. Pop music has always been a mixed bag. Top 40 has always been a mixed bag.
And that's one of the things.
That's not surprising.
No, it's not. That's one of the reasons why I still enjoy music as much as I do. I mean, for as long as I've been around it, and I've immersed myself in it so much. And therein lies the funny part, because, you brought up B.B. King, one of my all-time favorites, and I had a chance to see him, and we talk about eclectic mixes. One of my favorite places when I have the opportunity to go last weekend of April, first weekend of May, is New Orleans, Louisiana for New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival.
Oh, my God, I'm envious. I've always wanted to go. I've been to New Orleans. I've been to Mardi Gras. I've never been to the festival, and that's on my bucket list. I definitely want to go. I'll meet you one year.
It is always a great time. And to know that they have, over the course of 7 different days, 2 weekends, they will have the widest variety of musical talent to be found anywhere. You'll have.
How is it price wise? Reasonable?
Very.
Wow.
I think the Saturday or Sunday tickets were only like $55, $60 a piece. And it's like they had Jimmy Buffett back, they had The Who, they had Elton John, they had T.I. Pitbull, they had, superstars from all genres of music. And then they had a pure mix of everybody from Cajun to traditional country to hillbilly to, you can say it like that, rockabilly. Difference, I know. Rockabilly, hillbilly, totally different things. I'm trying to think of bluegrass. That's the word I'm thinking of. And I'm sorry to bluegrass fans for calling it hillbilly. That's my fault. Because I like bluegrass. I really do. Lester
yeah, me too. I've had friends who are bluegrass players. If you get a chance, I highly recommend to the listeners to check out HBO's series Treme. What a tremendous show. It never got huge ratings. It's off already. It's probably 36 or so episodes, but it is so heartfelt. It's about New Orleans after Katrina and the musicians and everybody else trying to survive right after, that terrible, time. And some of the greatest New Orleans musicians are all on it, from Fats Domino on down. And what a heartfelt, heart-wrenching, beautiful show. And it's the same guys that did The Wire, which some people think is the greatest show in the history of TV. So,
and what's it called?
I recommend Treme.
Treme is what it's called?
Yeah, Treme, yes.
I will look for that. I have HBO down here.
Oh, you'll love it. If you love music and, great drama, I mean, it's so captivating. It's from the heart. Let's put it that way. It's just from the heart. It's I was very I can't even put into words how devastated I was when it just never got the audience it deserved, and it wasn't a hit on the level of a Sopranos or Mad Men, but it was on that level. It was on that level. That's how great it was.
I want to ask, before I let you get away, I want to ask this real quick. I know that you'd said that you'd, and I hadn't brought it back up since that conversation. You said you'd put Legends Radio on hold. What are the are there upcoming plans for Legends Radio?
Yeah. I've moved to Legends TV. I do a weekly TV series.
Well, that was next. That was next.
It's a tremendous amount of work. I mean, people have no idea. You're booking it, you're promoting it, promoting it before the show, promoting it after the show. I mean, you do a weekly, you do a regular radio show. So it's very hard to juggle two shows the same week.
Right.
And just at this stage of the game, TV was a greater challenge. I've done radio since 1991. So yes, at some point I'm sure I'll bring it back. But right now, Legends TV at legendstvnyc.com and madhousetv.com. We got million-selling artists. We've had Martha Wass from the Weather Girls, and Crown Heights Affair, and all these tremendous old-school R&B and other musicians as well. We had Lenny Coco from the Chimes. He just passed the other week, million-selling doo-wop artist. But we also showcase indie artists and indie wrestlers and legendary wrestlers. Lanny Poffo's been on, and Nicole Bass, and people like that. And again, it's just a very odd mishmash. The day Lenny Coco, a doo-wop singer in his 70s, was on, we had the rapper from Men on a Mission, okay? And Lenny Coco's going, I never really liked rap that much, and all of a sudden, he starts rapping, and he liked it. And it was like magic. It was magic, this rapper with a doo-wop singer. You would never, think this would work, and it did. And, we'll just spontaneously say, hey, why don't you guys play together? Why don't you guys do something together? And, it's live TV. It's live. So, sometimes it works beautifully, and other times it dies on the vine, and, it's like walking a tightrope. But, it's just a bigger challenge because I've only been doing TV for 3 years, and I was doing radio since '91. So Yeah, I'm sure I'll come back to the radio. Meanwhile, I'm constantly on various other shows, and it's radio's always there if you want it. It's a commitment. People don't realize. People have this odd assumption, even with the wrestler. Oh, you must have made millions of dollars. No, I didn't make millions of dollars. Nor did Mickey. Nor did Marissa Tomei. None of us did. It was a $6 million indie film, but this is something that you're incredibly proud of, and that's going to stand the test of time. And I acted in the film. That's going to be up, there forever. And you can't put a price on something like that.
No, you can't.
People assume, Eddie's doing radio, he must be making millions of dollars. No, Evan's doing radio or TV, he must be making a fortune. No, you do it because you love it and you see the value of it, and you're promoting other people, and it is what it is, and it's not always about money. It's not always about money. And sometimes in the wrestling world, you'll have some guy with a cheesy website and 400 pop-up ads, and they're making a fortune of money, but what are they actually giving to the world? Raw reviews, SmackDown reviews. I mean, when the smoke clears, it's popcorn. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it's like when I do this show, and when I do Beyond Ringside Live and sit in with Wrestle Rage and To Be Determined, all the shows here on the network, the one thing that I hope people take away from it is we try to have fun with what we do, and with all the drama, with all the headaches, with all the worry and the panic, with everybody wanting to bite each other's heads off 23 hours out of the day. If I can do something, or the shows here on the station can do something to maybe make you think, make you laugh, make you just forget about it for a while and say to heck with it and just chill, then I've done exactly what I wanted to do. I try to give people that escape. Whether they're wrestling fans, mixed martial arts fans, entertainment fans, it doesn't matter. I'm traditional sports fans. That's my target. That's always been my target. Can I help you find that escape, if only for a few minutes, and give you that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, I'm sure after all these years, you could go into a major city and have quote-unquote friends. You've reached a lot of people, you've connected with a lot of people, you've supported a lot of people, and you can't put a price on that. You could come to New York and I'd hang out with you. You could go to major cities throughout the country, or even the world, and you're expanding your circle 1,000-fold, and the average person does not get to do that. The average person reaches 33 people. That's a statistic.
Wow.
And, you as a radio person who's done quality radio with name people, you've expanded your circle unbelievably. And that means something. That means something because it all comes down to support. You've supported a lot of people. You've promoted a lot of people. And people remember that. Not everybody's on radio all the time. And, hey, Eddie put me on in 2013, 2014, whatever, 2015. And, it is a bonding experience.
And I'm first off, I'm humbled and I'm flattered and I'm appreciative. It's actually in reverse order. I'm appreciative more than anything else, but it's definitely, to hear things like that, I'm very humbled, and I thank you very much. I just, like I said.
Do you know, I've done radio so long that people say, I did your show, X amount of years ago, and I might not even remember, but to them it was important. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
First, before I let you enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night, I want to ask one more time, how can people track down and watch Legends TV?
LegendsTVNYC.com. That's the website. Or, it's all over YouTube. Just punch in Evan Ginsberg's, Ginzburg, Evan Ginsberg's Legends TV. Madhouse TV is the station. They have a YouTube, they have YouTube as well, and it's easy enough to find. The main website's probably the best, legendstvnyc.com, and I think they'll enjoy it. It's the There's plenty of wrestling. Oh, the other day I had this guy on, Eric Chominsky, who's like the #1 Japanese wrestling guy. So he was telling about recently going to Japan for 27 live wrestling shows. So his wife's sitting there, and I'm like, "Hey, Eric, let me ask you a question. Give us a ballpark figure. What did that cost?" And he's like, "Well, it was 5 figures." And I'm like, "You have a good wife. You have a very supportive wife."
Bingo.
You know?
Bingo.
So he's talking all about, going to Japan and, culturally, what the experience was like and how gracious the fans were and the wrestlers and, Oh, by the way, check out Wrestle Kingdom 7. Oh, my God, that was better than WrestleMania. Tremendous.
There's a lot of good product out there, and I wanted to talk a little bit more in depth about the pay-per-view with you, about the Payback pay-per-view, but I've had a blast, and I'm going to ask the question, and would you be willing to come back on somewhere down the road?
Of course, anytime.
And be careful. I will hold you to this. You know this, right?
Yeah. I enjoy speaking to you. If I didn't, I'm here anytime. Let me know.
Let me guess. If you didn't, you'd kayfabe the hell out of me, right?
No, I'll tell you. Sometimes you get on the wrestling radio shows and you have like kids who are doing it, and they're like hitting you with 82 questions about the angles on Raw, and I'll keep saying, listen, I TiVo it. I basically watch Cesaro and Rollins and Ambrose and 1 or 2 other guys. I don't really pay attention to the angles, and it's not a wonderful experience because I'm really unqualified. So you're far more well-rounded, eclectic, and it's a pleasure talking to you.
How can everybody track you down on social media?
I'm on Facebook, EVANGINZBURG, LinkedIn, Twitter. I'm everywhere, easy to find. Just look under my name.
It is always a pleasure to have you on, and I want to thank you again for being generous with your time, Mr. Ginsberg.
Oh, my pleasure, Eddie. Anytime. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, our very special guest, returning guest, and I will now say the term extended family. Be careful. You just got pinned with that label. Evan Ginsberg.
That's nice. I'm flattered. Thank you.
Has just gone once again beyond ringside. Hang with us. Back to Basics rolls on right after this.
This is Larry Goodman, GWH News and Notes, and you're locked in to Beyond Ringside.
When planning your next party or special event, insist on the best. Full Range Entertainment is a professional entertainment company providing a full range of services. From professional disc jockeys and MCs to catering and photography, when the details of your special day must be perfect, call us first. Wedding receptions, corporate parties, school functions, birthday celebrations, and more. We also have Birmingham's largest selection of karaoke tracks available. With over 40 years combined experience, Full Range Entertainment can provide you with the talent and professionalism you need and deserve to make your next event one you'll never forget. For more information on the full range of services we offer, call 533-HITS. That's 533-HITS. Or check us out on our website at fullrangeentertainment.com.
I'm addictive. I'm expensive. I'm Byron Wilcott. And ladies, Big Daddy Yum Yum is locked in to Beyond Ringside.
Howdy, friends. This is the Magic City Motor Mouth, Fast Eddie Layne, with your invitation to join yours truly, along with Mark Mabo Bowman and the Oracle of Ominous, the Wicked Nemesis, every Sunday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. Pacific, for Beyond Ringside Live. Wrestling, mixed martial arts, sports talk, and a whole lot more. Keep your eyes open on BeyondRingside.com for all of upcoming show information, and of course, catch us on social media as well. Until then, we'll see you this Sunday, 6:30 Eastern, for Beyond Ringside Live on the Beyond Ringside Radio Network.
This is Dr. Tom Pritchard, and if you want to listen to the best in professional wrestling, get locked in to Beyond Ringside.
This is Bambi Weavil with Masters of Ring Entertainment, and you are locked in to Beyond Ringside.
Hey, everyone. My name is Bryce Rensburg. I'm the Chikara Senior Official, and wherever I am in the world, be it on the phone or the Internet, there's no place I'd rather be than locked in to Beyond Ringside.
minutes after the top of the hour on this Tuesday night, this 19th day of May 2015. Welcome back into Beyond Ringside, Back to Basics, where everything is on the table and nothing is off the record. Unless the check clears in advance, then we'll negotiate terms, okay? Fast Eddie Layne, live from Studio One. Like to welcome in tag team partner and one of the hosts of Wrestle Rage Radio with Smart Graves and Stan on Sunday nights right here on Beyond Ringside Radio, Stan Grubb. How's the day?
It's going really well, man. I'm glad I could actually be home, have a headset, and actually talk to everybody and sound like I'm actually in the room.
There you go. There you go. It's a beautiful thing. By the way, Wrestle Rage Radio will be returning this coming Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, right here.
That's right.
On the Beyond Ringside Radio Network.
Unless, of course, Corey gets mugged or my laptop gets hidden again.
Corey gets mugged? No comment. Not going to go there. I know it's too many things. He has too many irons in the fire for me to take one-liners right now.
Yeah, he's got a lot going on. He's a busy dude. I mean, I pick on him a lot, but he does have tons going on, so he knows how to keep busy.
And speaking of people who know how to stay busy, tension, headache, and all. And I think I gave her the recipe for the cure a little while ago. Ladies and gentlemen, great friend of the family, Bambi Weavil with Masters of Ring Entertainment. Bambi, how you doing tonight?
Hey, well, you did kayfabe me and say I had a tension headache earlier, but I'm feeling better. How you guys doing?
That wasn't a kayfabe. That was a legit.
I know, it was, but, it's good. I'm all good. I'm feeling better. I'm glad to be back on the air. Thanks for having me.
Look, I'm going to say it like this. With as much as you've had going on, building up for the event that is going to be, can you believe it's this Saturday night?
Oh my gosh, it is crazy. It really, it's starting to hit me, and it's going to really start hitting me Friday when the girls land.
Well, I remember everything that was going on with the previous event, and I know how many directions you were pulled in. But I also knew then how much you were genuinely looking forward to this one, Lasting Legacy, a tribute to women in wrestling. It's May 23rd, this Saturday night, and Wilmington, North Carolina is going to, all roads will lead to Wilmington this Saturday, and I believe that.
Thank you. Yeah, and I still am. It's really, really exciting. We've had a lot of great media coverage. I'm really grateful, blessed that we have. We've got more coming out. And I'm really excited. This is the first time ever it's ever happened in the business. It's the first time ever anyone's paid tribute to women in wrestling, and we're extremely proud of that. It's a huge honor for me personally, but and our company as well. For us, this is going to be one of the hallmarks of our company. I'm really excited to have Trish and Lita involved.
Now, for those who don't know, do me a favor. Give everybody a little bit of the background about Masters of Ring Entertainment.
Okay, so Masters of Ring Entertainment is a national company. We are based in Las Vegas, Nevada, and for our second event coming up in this weekend, doing events in Wilmington, North Carolina. Does not mean it's going to be exclusive to Wilmington, but for right now, this is a base we're building. The first event we did March 7th was a tribute to Jim Cornette. We had a bunch of the old school guys come out. It was really great times. Teddy DiBiase, Harley Race, Rock and Roll Express, Midnight Express with Stan Lane and Bob Eaton. It was just a great, great time. And this one, is for the girls, really. Trish, Amy Dumas, Terri Runnels, Lisa Moretti, Marie Varon, Missy Hyatt. It's going to be incredible. And Little Egypt. So, we've got it stacked.
I did not know until 6.8 seconds ago that you had actually said the words Terri Runnels. You're going to have my future fifth ex-wife there. Nice.
She's awesome. I've known Terri for a number of years. I've got a unique relationship with her. I used to be her agent, and she's a good friend of mine, and proud to have her involved. And she's got a very unique perspective on the business.
And considering that she was full scale and full bore in the Attitude Era as Marlena alongside of Goldust, I can only imagine, because not only was she one of the more prolific personalities that wasn't full-time in-ring talent, but she was also one of the most purely visible and sometimes a little bit controversial. I love some of the outfits and some of the gowns that she got away with. It's like they got that past the censors and the sponsors.
Not just that, but go back even further. When she kicked off her career at Alexandra York, the whole computer gimmick, way before that crazy general manager computer gimmick happened that was everyone should forget. That's what she was doing, before the internet was cool. Came up as Marlena with Goldust. Like you said, that was definitely controversial. And, of groundbreaking at the time. And then, she became an on-air personality doing WWE TV and doing the whole PMS angle. She's done quite a lot. She's got some great stories to tell.
Oh, yeah, because having worked with the two majors at any particular point in time, like I say, with the York Foundation and then everything they did down in WCW, both in front of the cameras and behind the scenes, it was crazy back in that run. And then you come up to the Attitude Era and everything going on up there. It's kind of like, how did she stay sane is one of my questions.
Well, that's definitely something that could be asked. She's taking part in the fan Q&A. There's a 3:30 to 5 o'clock spot we're doing. It's a women in wrestling panel. We've got Trish and Terri and bunch of the other girls getting together. It's the first time all these girls have been on a Q&A panel where fans can ask questions just like that. What it was like, what was your experience like on the road? What was your experience juggling the role as a mom and on-air personality? It's quite good.
Yeah, because one of the things I'd like to ask Missy Hyatt, because remembering the fact that when the Universal Wrestling Federation was at its hottest, just before the buyout of Jim Crockett, when Jim Crockett barred it out, she was part of Hyatt and Hot Stuff International along with Sting, Rick Steiner, Eddie Gilbert, and they had various other members coming through, as well as the running feud with Jack Victory and John Tatum and Jack Victory, and it's like she was a huge focal point of a lot of the Hyatt and Hot Stuff International storylines.
I'm so excited to have Missy at this event. I feel strongly that she's somebody that's never been given enough credit for her intelligence in the business and all the things she's done. I'm excited for her perspective, and she was really one of the pioneers, in terms of the whole diva movement. And I'm really, really stoked. And what's going to be really cool with Missy is that we have her co-hosting Lasting Legacy, so that's going to be fun.
Stan Grubb, come on board.
I'm blown away by the talent list of the ladies you have coming in, and anybody that can get Ricky Morton to go by Richard Morton, by the way, deserves your respect. So I loved the York Foundation. I thought that was a great gimmick. I'm excited to see it. You've got a lot of attention. The media exposure that has been gathered from this has been phenomenal. You couldn't have a better face for the company than Trish Stratus and Lita to both really do the tag team deal for promoting the event. They've just done a great job. I just saw the other day that it was getting newspaper articles in Florida. I think I saw one that's out in Canada. Of course, having Trish up there, they're certainly going to latch on. But you got a great event, and of course, tickets are still available. Is that correct?
Yes, they are.
Mastersoftheringentertainment.com
if you're somehow local in North Carolina at Yellow Dog Disc. We really encourage people to buy in advance because we've got people flying from all over the country and actually the world. Unknown story to most people right now. It's something we're going to be talking about. There's a young lady in the military. He's a contractor coming from Afghanistan for this event.
Wow.
Really?
Wrap your mind around that one. I never in my wildest dreams thought that would ever happen. And I'm excited, really, really excited and honored. Of all the places she could do when she gets back to this country, she wants to come to this. Doesn't get better than that.
That's tremendous. That is, legit, that is absolutely tremendous. Trying to get everybody on the same page as far as the scheduling goes, I know that is another thing that you've avoided pulling your hair out over, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's the life of an event producer, it's scheduling. It's all about the scheduling and the timing and how do you breathe and do you breathe? So, it's a balancing act, all the way in, but it happens so fast. What people don't realize is that when you do an event like this, you're in fast forward mode, and
yes.
Before you know it, the event's over, you're saying goodnight, everyone had a great time, and then it's all over. And then for me, I just have to look at the footage later because it's you're in a different world. Your mind isn't in the same realm as the fan and the audience. Or when I go to WrestleMania, I watch to enjoy the show, but I also watch as an event producer to see what I can learn from the WWE. In this case, I'm in the co-producer role with my business partner Charlie Hartman, and we're in a different, our minds in a different clique. So I never get to enjoy any show I ever do until it's over, and then I get to look at it. It's very odd. I don't know if everyone's in that is like me and like that, but that's just my pattern. That's how I process events, because for me, it's about the person walking in the door. There's nothing I take more seriously than someone that commits their hard-earned money to something that we're putting on. and I want to make sure they get their value and then some.
I don't think that's going to be a problem this coming Saturday up in Wilmington. You know, you made the reference to breathing a minute ago. Normally on big event weekends, I will normally take one deep breath on Friday evening, then go ahead and exhale on Monday morning.
It sounds about right, and there's a holiday, so it may not be until Tuesday.
Oh!
You know, I mean, I'm just so excited. I mean, it's just, I don't know how to, it's the Super Bowl for us right now. It's the biggest event we're putting on this year. You know, we've got more stuff planned, but I mean, for this caliber, you know, and to be the first, I mean, there's such serious responsibility in that. You know, it's something that we just, you have to do it right, you know, and to have these girls basically give their blessing to be a part of this event is a tremendous honor to have Trish and Amy and all these other girls that worked hard in the business and to be able to recognize them as women, you know. I'm glad we are, you know, and I think people are going to really be in for a treat. You know, Trish, if anyone doesn't follow Trish on Twitter, she was promoting her dress shopping today. So she's picking a really nice gown for it. So just little things like that, you know, just make it bigger and bigger as we get closer.
Stan?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the breakdown of just the talent roster here, the schedule is ambitious. I mean, anytime you see personal appearances for somebody in professional wrestling, you were talking a couple hours at a time, maybe 3 or 4 at the most. This is a 12-hour day, 8 a.m. to 10 or 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., and that's just for the event itself, not the planning and the before and the takedown and the after. So, I mean, these ladies are really putting a lot of not just time, but effort and dedication and commitment to the company, but also to the event. You know, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. you've got Missy Hyatt and Jackie Jordan there hosting, you know, the lasting legacy portion. That's going to be an outstanding event. Talk to us about the VIP tickets and what that really brings to the table for the fan.
Sure. So when you do a VIP, you're basically getting both events in one ticket. So the way it works is you get advanced seating, advanced line placement. You get in first. You're promised seating for the wrestling show, which is during the Expo for 2 hours. It's the Just Cause Pro Wrestling Tournament featuring female talent from around the country. Really stoked about that. And they're going to have the VIP Q&A, which was what I alluded to earlier, the Women in Wrestling panel where Trish is doing a Q&A with the other ladies. And it's rare for Trish to do a Q&A at all. So for that value alone, you're getting your money's worth. And in the evening, it gets you priority seating for Lasting Legacy. There is general admission as well, but I highly encourage the $99 ticket because you just get more for your value. You know, your convenience time and the VIP access that you get.
I've got to ask, with everything that has transpired, as far as the different conventions, everything that goes from the West Coast to the East Coast, and you have, I don't want to use the word traditional conventions. I have to be careful when I use that word because people automatically sit back and say, what is he calling a con? No, I'm calling it a convention. Okay, it's an abbreviation, kids. Your inspiration. From what part of the heart did the concept come?
Oh my God. It's like, it's interesting. So anyone that comes will get the program. And I wrote a pretty personal piece about why this is important to me personally. I basically grew up in the business and to a certain degree, you know, and my path working with people like Sunny, you know, honestly, you know, that got me into the business and word of mouth and ended up working with other ladies in the business. And just being a fan of these girls from a certain role model type level. You know, I was touched to a degree. You know, I definitely enjoyed the work of some of these ladies that were brought, all of them, I don't want to say some, all of them, but in some cases more strongly than others, was very, very affected. So it means a great deal. I feel like I'm giving back because there's no way I could ever repay to get to this point, you know, but if there is anything I can say, if I have this as something in my legacy, you know, with my partner and I, it would mean a great deal to me. So for me, it's giving back to the girls that came before me because without these girls, there's no way that I would be where I'm at right now. So I just view it as giving back to the business in every sense of the word.
And let me take one little thing right off the top, and this is something that jumped out at me a second ago because I noticed that one of the talents that's going to be there is former WWE Diva Ivory, known as Lisa Moretti, and I've actually, when a lot of people have not made the assimilation, the fact that Miss Moretti has been a part of 3 very high-profile promotions, 2 which were female-specific.
Right.
Because
People don't realize that. They're used to the WWE Ivory.
Right. And a lot of them don't remember the fact that she was actually with Powell after the breakdown of Glow, which she was also a part of, one of my personal favorites. And that's why it's like, I'm a huge fan of hers. I see the name. It's like, okay, I'm going to call Sean and say, dude, I'm going to be sick this Saturday. And
I mean, she's phenomenal. I mean, she's a great worker, a great person. The beauty of getting to know these girls that you're putting on an event is an honor, and a privilege in itself. And I'm excited because this is a rare appearance for her. She does not do conventions. So, especially on the East Coast. So I know a lot of people are looking forward to it. And also we had put out a video. I don't know if you guys had a chance to check it out. She did a little promo video for us, and we put it out this past weekend. So maybe you guys can check it out. It's at the Facebook on Masters of Ring Entertainment. It's on Twitter as well.
Very cool. But like I say, when you've got individuals who have done so much with so many different companies over the course of their respective runs, and they come through everything, because I've got to lay it out there like this, and all three of us both of you have been in this conversation with me before. And I've often felt, and this is where I take a little bit of a turn, I've often felt that there has been an unfair standard put in place as far as for women in professional wrestling, because I've often felt that they work harder than a lot of the guys do for half the credit and for half of the recognition. And I've always felt that genuinely should turn around, because you have women who have been in the world of professional wrestling, who have given their heart, have given their soul, have given their body for a business that is so topsy-turvy. And, for many, many moons, the phrase was there that pro wrestling was a man's sport. I sit back and look at it like this. Pro wrestling should be exactly what the name implies. It should be a sport for professionals. And that is why when I see, so many of these names that are on this list, whether they have been primarily behind the microphone, whether they've been in ring talent, to break the ground that they've taken, to take the road that they've taken, to blaze the trail that they've taken. I love it. I appreciate it. And I want to say thank you for putting on this event.
Oh, thank you for saying that. I feel the same way. I'm very passionate about what women have accomplished in pro wrestling and how they've never gotten the recognition. It's hence the reason we've done the event. I mean, it's blazingly obvious to me. I mean, when you've got, it's just been a struggle. You don't know where they're going to appear on the card. Usually it's definitely not main events. And if it is, it's a rarity, and it can be botched, or it's just a joke, or it's not as taken as seriously. I mean, I have issues with the way the WWE has pushed women in the last few years, last few months. I think the last time it's been even remotely good was when Trish and Amy were there. When they were main eventing like they were in Raw and Charlotte. That's honestly the last time Trish and Amy have appeared together in North Carolina since this event. It's been 10 years for Trish, to give everyone a perspective on how it's the last time she's been in North Carolina. But I'm digressing, but I feel like it's just bad. I mean, TNA's doing a pretty good effort right now from what I hear. And I hear NXT is doing well. I honestly don't get to catch it as much as I wish. Everyone's telling me to tune in. So,
tune in.
There's a lot more work to do, but what these women have accomplished have certainly helped kick open the door.
Let me tell you something. Check out NXT, because okay. And here we go, because I'm going to take the IWC at its word, because I'm going to take what they say and put it up in this context. The women who are divas who have been running in NXT for the last while have been blowing away the in-ring product on the main roster. And
I believe that wholeheartedly. I've heard great things. I'm just waiting for them to get on the Raw roster. That's what I'm waiting on.
Look, with all due respect, if it means happening, some of the things happening with some of the people that have come up to the main roster, I would rather them stay in NXT where they can actually do what they do best, and that's work.
Fair point.
Because, look what happened with Paige. Remember, she was a monster down in NXT. Lo and behold, she gets up to the main roster. And you've had so many others. It's like, look, I sit back and say this. At one point in time, Natalya Neidhart, genuinely one of the best in the industry. AJ Lee continued to improve, and her star continued to shine even brighter before she left. Paige, with the exception of a storyline thing here or there, which has been known to happen to people on the main roster, she's proven the fact that she's good in the ring and can definitely go at the drop of a hat. And look, I don't have a gender bias when it comes down to it. When the bell rings, can you go? But when WWE puts on a product, and now the hashtag was give the divas a chance, it's like, let the divas who are there continue to hone their craft and become even better, because you've got some on the main roster that should not be on the main roster, and some on the NXT roster that need to be in the national spotlight and allowed to do what they do best.
Absolutely. I mean, one thing I am excited about, and it warms my heart to see, is the social media support of women in NXT, women in wrestling. Regardless of how we feel about certain characters, there is a nice push, and Mick Foley has a lot to do with it, because he's brought attention to the girls, especially in NXT. I really enjoy lately the push on social media to sort of wake up the WWE bit and get them to pay more attention, to show the value of the women workers, which is fabulous. And it's just like you said, it doesn't matter your gender. When that bell rings, just work. I think that's spot on. I feel the same way. I think any wrestling fan should look at the work before the gender.
And I think that WWE, and I'm going to toss to Stan right after I make this statement, but I'm going to say this. I thought that WWE may have realized something that they had when they had Dutch Mantell up there full-time, Zeb Coulter, because when Uncle Dutch was running the Knockouts division for TNA, nobody ever had anything negative to say about about Knockouts matches. When Dutch left TNA, that's when everything started to, because Dutch put his heart and soul into that Knockouts division, because he wanted people in that division who could do women's wrestling proud and do professional wrestling proud. Stan?
I agree. I mean, both you and Bambi, you both are aware that I'm highly critical of women's wrestling, and it's not because I have a dislike for it, but I'm a stickler for the protecting the integrity of the art, and to me, that involves girls like or ladies like Amber O'Neil, Angel Orsini, Tasha Simone, and that's just the folks that I've worked with directly. I mean, indirectly, I've seen and experienced, as far as a fan perspective, seeing what Trish Stratus and Lita brought to the table in that era. We haven't seen women's wrestling truly be important, and I don't mean that as a disrespectful statement to the women that are trying their hardest right now, but we haven't really seen a important focal point in a worldwide stage. I would have to agree with Bambi and say it's been over a decade, and that's not the fault of Vince McMahon necessarily. I just don't think they have their finger on that pulse, and it's hard for that large of a group, that large of a company, to find that pulse. Now, with NXT, you've got Sasha Banks, you've got Charlotte, you've got Becky Lynch, you've got Bayley. You have all of these women that are highly capable, very young, and able to grow, and they've proven night in and night out that they're capable of pulling it off in a main event aspect, very similar to how Trish and Lita did. And more to the point, just looking at it from a business perspective, in a perfect world, the divas lettering, the statement, the phrase, the term, would be eliminated, because it's not what's needed. What's needed is a focus on women in wrestling and women as superstars and entertainers. You throw diva out there and you think of and I don't mean this as a knock on her because she has improved, but you think of a Nikki Bella versus Karma, for example. Karma is a monster and should have, by all intents and purposes, what's Austin say, had a rocket strapped to her back?
Yeah.
I mean, not to be mean, but she would have needed a big rocket. Point is, she definitely deserved it, because she's probably one of the best performers I've ever seen in a women's wrestling perspective. And size does not matter in that regard, but what I'm saying is that she should have been there. So from my perspective, I'm very particular about it, and I would love to have seen something happen with that. The coolest part of what we're doing right here, and I've told Bambi before personally, but the truth of the matter, and I don't mean this as blowing smoke, it's awesome to see someone with such an awesome business acumen and also be female as Bambi, that's able to put together Masters of Ring Entertainment with her partner and provide a huge opportunity for a fan to really experience not just the past of wrestling, but also the future with the show that's going to be going on. I wish there was more of that. I'm excited to see what happens going forward.
That's one of the nicest things I've heard in a while. Thank you, Stan. I really appreciate that. I mean, we really pride ourselves on that. What we really pride ourselves on is there's so many conventions. You're talking traditional conventions, and I kind of, want to roll my eyes a bit because we're not, and we get compared to that. I mean, what we do is more intimate. We really connect with the fans personally. I personally email every fan that buys a ticket. And it's worth it for me because I truly, truly, deep down, I couldn't be more sincere about it, value anyone who spends $1 on this company because you are voting with your wallet that I'm going to give you my time of day. I'm going to walk in your building and meet the people you brought in my town. And that's a serious responsibility. Conventions forget that. And I won't, Of course, we hope to get bigger. That's our goal. We have an Indiegogo campaign. If anybody would like to check it out, we do have aspirations to go international. And we've had international requests, which is incredibly flattering. Australia, Italy, just here and there and everywhere. We really strive ourselves on the personal relationship with a fan. A WWE really can't have that. It's not in their capacity to. They've outgrown that. And there's nothing wrong with that, but we serve an audience more personally because we grew up as fans. We won't forget where we came from, and at the end of the day, fans make the wrestling business. They are the reasons why everyone has a job, all of us in this conversation, So, I mean, that's how we view it. In terms of what you said earlier about NXT, I've heard, NXT is a lot hotter than Raw. It's a better product than Raw. I absolutely believe it. Thank God NXT is around because it's nice to hear the fan base, when new NXT people come up the rank. And I'm glad there's little alternatives like that. I'm glad WWE is having a platform for that audience that's really rabid. So, competition's healthy, even internal competition. I think NXT performers will make the mainstays have to work harder as they get more and more in.
You mentioned the word rabid, and I take the word rabid as passionate. And
yes,
the way that I'm looking at it, in all sincerity, you have to have that passion, whether you're in-ring talent, whether you're a referee, whether you're an announcer, it doesn't matter. Because you have to be able to fully grasp your head and your heart around what you're trying to do. Because I will say this, as someone who watched pro wrestling in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s, and the 2010s, the 20-teens, whatever you want to call it, I watch different people and I pay attention. It's just like, I don't know if you heard what I said during the first segment of the show, but I see people who take things for what they are, and then I see people who take things for what they can be or what they feel they should be. And I'm gonna break track for a second here, and I'm going into a different realm because when I was watching WWE's top 10 countdown of the countdown of the top 10 high flyers, and I listened to what they said about Amy, about Lita. First off, I agree with what they said because of the fact that you could see that she wanted to be that much more than, and here you go, the traditional diva, the traditional female wrestler. She wanted to show that there is another side, and she did that. She had that passion, that desire, that drive, that motivation. And that's why I listened to what they said and how they said it, because I was waiting. I was sitting back waiting because I was ready to pounce. And when everything they said was A, real, B, true, C, genuine, I'm sitting back going, rats, I can't shred this. Because they said it right. She had that focus to where she wanted to continue to get even better than she was, and she was pretty damn good when she walked onto the scene. And that's something that on the main roster is really kind of hard to get. And then we saw the factor of Trish starting out the way she did in the WWEF, and then evolving her character and her personality, and then moving in ring, and then going full-time in ring. She had that drive, she had that passion, she had that motivation to continue to be better, to be the best that she could be, and even surpass that. And you look at a number of the individuals who are going to be at this event this Saturday. Traditional wrestling fans, long time, short time, doesn't matter. If you want to meet individuals in the realm of professional wrestling who genuinely understand the concept of not what it is, but what it can be and what it should be, You need to be in Wilmington, North Carolina this Saturday, May 23rd. Plain and simple. That's the best way I can say it. Because fans want to be able to respect the in-ring product, the on-television, the on-camera product, the live product. You have to be able to respect the ones who paved the way, who blazed the trail, who laid the groundwork. And these ladies, they didn't just blaze the trail. They punched the hole right through the wall, shattered the glass ceiling, and showed that a star can shine brighter and brighter every time. Questions, comments?
Hard to follow that up. I mean, thank you. Well, I mean, it's the God honest truth, and it's not just these ladies. I mean, we're taking moments and lasting legacy to also honor those before them, the Fabulous Moolah, Mae Young, and the people that have passed on. What we're proud about as a company is we are very different on the independent scene. You will not see another company like us. And the comparison to WWE. It makes sense for us because we were paying an honor to people, in the business, in a very serious way, a very WWE Hall of Fame style way, without putting them in a Hall of Fame. This is just basically, the way we look at it is to honor each other in the business to a degree, to honor people in the business without a physical location or non-location Titan Tower type gimmick, I guess. It's not a gimmick for us. I mean, this is something we're extremely passionate and serious about. And we're talking about, the desire to blaze and to be the best. And these girls all have it. And to succeed in the business at all, you have to want to be better, to be better than what you're expected to be, to get to that next level. And if you do that, you stand out. And Trish and Amy both made a career doing that, as did all these ladies. And even ladies that we don't have in the card, the Molly Hollies and Jazz and Medusa, I mean, all these ladies are all very, very important. You can only put so many in a two hour show.
True.
But I mean, it doesn't. No one was slighted. It's not like that. But everyone's got a place in the business. And as far as the diva comment you made earlier, I mean, It's a mixed blessing in a way. I'm passionate about women's wrestling, but I'm also passionate about to know that there are certain caricatures for certain reasons. But at the end of the day, I'm a fan of women's wrestling. I'm a fan of strong women in the business, and the representation of strong women in the business, positive role models for girls. I think that's very, very important. And the Total Diva audience does have an audience. The Bella Twins have a fan base, and that is what's clicking with the teenagers nowadays. I don't always agree, but they're bringing people to the seats. I mean, I'll tell you the testament that I felt when I walked into the WrestleMania store and saw a whole section of Bella merchandise. I hadn't quite seen anything like that since Sunny was around, to be honest. I hadn't seen that much merch for women in a long time, good, bad, or indifferent. They're obviously doing something right up there to attract that kind of marketing.
Yeah, I have one, and I hate to kill the whole thing by making this one comment, but considering her name is Brie, and she puts her name on her shirt, and she calls her little war cry Brie mode, if you're doing that in the crux of the match, wouldn't you be in Brie mode from bell to bell? And not just on the comeback?
It's true.
I mean, I'm sorry, that's just my...
I know. But the way I look at it, hey, these girls are paid to do a job. May not be what I always agree with, but hey, they're paid to do a job, and they do their job. Whether I like it or not, it's not important. It's not my show. But what is my show is what we're doing here with the Women in Wrestling Fan Expo and Lasting Legacy. And I'm really, really proud of the product we're developing with that, and the brand we're developing with the Lasting Legacy series, like we did with Cornette, and now with this, and we're doing in the future. So this is going to be pretty amazing. I hope everyone listening can check it out. We've got fans coming from around the country. It's not too late. There's still some hotel rooms in the city left. It's Memorial Day weekend, so if you're planning to come, I would really go ahead and get that stuff in motion, because the hotel rooms are filling up in this area.
Now, you also, like I said, running down just some of the names that are going to be there. You've already made the reference to Terri Runnels is going to be there. Lisa Moretti is going to be there. Of course, Trish and Amy are going to be there. Missy Hyatt, Lisa Marie Varon. Look, I'm just going to sit back and say, I wish that she would have taken the MMA thing seriously a few years sooner, because I really think with her style and her skill set and her moveset and her mental acumen, that Lisa Marie would have actually done very well in MMA.
Oh, definitely.
I really
Definitely.
do. And not to mention, you got one of my personal favorites of all time in Little Egypt going to be there. I am so pissed that I can't be there.
Little Egypt, she's awesome. I mean, with Glow, Glow having a Glow presence there was important to me because they never get enough acknowledgement for what they've done for women's wrestling and their part in the whole history of women's wrestling. They really have never gotten a voice, and it was really important to me to have Little Egypt there for that reason.
Once again, I'm ticked I can't be there.
And, I mean, it's going to be really cool because, like you said, Lisa Moretti is there, and her part with Glow is very strong, and that's really how most people know her as before Ivory. Even though a lot of people haven't made the connection, like you said earlier.
Tina Ferrari.
Yeah, Tina Ferrari. I mean, I watched Glow growing up. I have no shame about it. The movie is wonderful, and it was really cool. I was in Las Vegas for the Cauliflower Alley Club, and I got to check out Riviera before they shut it down. So that was really neat, knowing I was going into this event to walk in the hallways, just be like, wow, this is where Glow, was born and where it was popular.
Forgive me for saying this, but I'm jealous. No, I mean, I really am. May God forgive me. I'm jealous.
I tell you what, I wish the teenage me could be there because I had crushes on all those ladies. I'm telling you that right now.
Oh, believe me.
Aw, it's cool. I mean, it's just, we're of the same age basically, and it's interesting because the teenage me is also like, wow, this is really happening. This is really happening. And it's really surreal. I'm not gonna lie, the whole thing is extremely surreal, but it's the path that I'm on, and I'm really glad this is coming true.
And I owe an apology because with all the names that I have mentioned, one that I have not mentioned, and that is the current, unless something has changed, the current National Wrestling Alliance Women's World Champion Santana Garrett is slated to be there from 2:30 to 5, right?
She is. She's actually wrestling in the tournament. The show, just so everyone knows, the wrestling show is 12 to 2, and she's competing, and I'm really excited. She's a lovely girl, very bubbly.
You've got a tremendous lineup there. Now, do me a favor before we go any further, and this, you should know this is me you're talking to, so I'm going to put you on the spot for this. Sponsors for the event. Who do you give thanks to?
Oh my gosh. Well, tagmeadate.com, coolest wrestling dating site ever. So wrestling fans, if you're single, my God, go on there, get on there. It's the OkCupid for wrestling fans. Pretty in Pink Foundation, the nonprofit we're supporting through our art contest. All proceeds for the art contest go to Pretty in Pink. They help women with breast cancer in North Carolina. So it's a great nonprofit. Our friends at One at Equilibrium have returned as a gold sponsor. Southeastern King Mackerel Fishing Club. They're doing a great Special Friends tournament in North Carolina, so check that out. Double Q, 94.5 The Hawk, 102.7 GNI, where Jackie Jordan is from, our co-host, and Coast 97.3. Bronze sponsors, Gone Jerky, Avocare, Family First Tattoo, Vapor Shack, and we're doing an after party at Low Tide Pub after May 23rd. So those are just some of the sponsors. You can see the entire list on our website, mastersofringentertainment.com.
You're going to be one tuckered out pup at the end of all of that.
Oh, God. But it's cool. I mean, we really couldn't do it without them, and honestly. And, it's really fun. We have a sponsor that's a vendor there from World Ventures who is giving away a vacation. We've got a motorcycle raffle going on for later in the year that someone's bringing in, to encourage the donations for Elite Water Systems. And, we have, actually, we didn't talk about this, but Marie Varon, she's doing a photo op on a motorcycle from one of our sponsors as well, Hard Knocks Motorcycles. So that's going to be cool. As far as we know, it's the first time ever she's done a motorcycle photo op before with fans.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Excuse me, mark out moment.
I mean, you can't walk in this building, that we're bringing in with her in it and have the opportunity to sit on a motorcycle with her. I just can't imagine why anybody would pass that up. I wouldn't. So,
and neither would
cool.
I would not.
Super cool.
It would probably be my last act on earth because I think halfway through the photo op I'd have a stroke and just right over.
Good way to go, right?
Of course.
I'm not taking any deaths at my show, so
yes, this is
what I delay it.
It's like I tell everybody: if they're not feeling good before they come on the show, just go ahead and let me know in advance. That way, I can get ready to go to break in a hurry because dying on air is against company policy.
Exactly. We don't have waivers for that. So
there you go. The only thing allowed to die around here are my jokes. So,
oh.
And they do die a miserable death. That's for sure.
Thanks, Corey. I mean, Stan. I was waiting. I knew I'd get that one in sooner or later. Now, first off, thank you. And you know I'm going to say this, but you know I don't have to say this because you know you're always welcome to pop in and say hi. It doesn't always have to be a special occasion.
Oh, thank you. And I don't know how you guys talking about, ribbing each other made me think of this, but before I forget, WrestleCade is also a sponsor, and they're bringing in former TNA star Tappa. So she's awesome, and she's also in the tournament, so I wanted to acknowledge that as well. No, but I would love to come back on. I appreciate the open invitation. You guys just know my schedule. It's either a knock on my door, see if I'm breathing myself. So, no, I enjoy coming on. It's a treat.
Now, do me before we let you run, and for those who haven't made it over to the website yet, whether you're listening live or on replay, go ahead and let everybody know ticket availability and cost real quick.
Oh my gosh. So if you want to come, definitely buy early. Highly recommend, because I can't promise availability at the door. They are selling. It's at mastersofringentertainment.com online. If you would like to purchase in person in Wilmington, if you happen to be in the area, it's Yellow Dog Disc on South College Road. And, those are the two ways to do it besides at the door. Tickets are $20 general admission for the Expo. And for the nighttime event lasting Legacy, the general admission is $25. $99 VIP tickets for the entire day, which includes the special VIP Q&A. Get you in the door early. Have a great seat. Can't beat that.
It's going to be tremendous. I wish I could be there. And I'm going to say this, folks, if you have the opportunity, I don't care if you're an hour away, 2 hours away, 3 hours away, 1 state, 2 state, 3 state. This is going to be worth the trip. Walk, run, steal a car. No, don't steal a car. I'm kidding. Hey, Fast Eddie Layne said I should steal a car to come up. Do you actually listen to what I say, people? Come on. This
Nobody
is me.
listens to what you say.
What?
Wait, what?
You saw that one coming too, didn't you? But seriously, if you have an event like this that you just heard is not just going to be point and click. This is going to be fan interactive. Where do you get that? You don't half the time. You really don't. That's why this Saturday is going to be such a special time in Wilmington. Like I said, I would kill for the opportunity to be there, and I would love to be able to be there, just like I know Stan would. So, folks, for those who can, definitely check it out. Get in a car, get on a bike, get a dog sled. I don't care. Find a way. Get there this Saturday. The Women in Wrestling Fan Expo, Lasting Legacy, all brought to you by Masters of Ring Entertainment. And, of course, once again, the website is mastersofringentertainment.com. She thought I was going to throw it to her, but I decided to go and take it myself. Yeah.
I did. I was anticipating. I was like, oh, here comes football. Got to catch it. but no, I want to correct myself because, what do I know? I run the company. So it's $30 to get in the evening. I'm like looking at my poster. I'm like, oh, I said the wrong thing. So no, $30 to get in, guys. Sorry about that.
Trust me, I've done that. I've done that before. Bambi, thank you for coming on. Greatly appreciated. Now, real quick, before I let you run, how can everybody keep track of not only Masters of Ring Entertainment, but you?
Oh, goodness. Well, honestly, best way is through the Facebook and Twitter, Masters of Ring 1 on Twitter, Masters Entertainment on Facebook. Bambi Weavil on Twitter, though I don't know what it means to have free time, so I'm kind of sparing about my tweets. That's honestly the best way. I'm really accessible, guys, so I mean, people are always surprised to hear from the co-owner of the company, but it really is important to have that connection with the fans. So the person tweeting, the person Facebooking, the person emailing, the person on the chat on the website, that's me. So, I'm likely to remember names, honestly, when you come to the event. I mean, we're that close to our fan base, which is really unique, like I said earlier. So yeah, very accessible. Come say hello. Let me know you heard me here.
Always appreciated, and looking forward to having you come back on, and I wish you the absolute best for this coming Saturday.
Thank you both for having me. Appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, going to go to a quick break. Right after I go ahead and get 3 more egg roll, I did. And I believe no country should ever make a card they cannot pronounce, and I do refer to the Carrara. Hang with us. Back to Basics rolls on right after I have a nervous breakdown. This.
Hey, this is Stan Grubb for Wrestle Rage Radio right here on BeyondRingside.com. Join us every Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for myself and Smart Rage as we discuss the professional wrestling business from WWE, TNA, and all things in between. We'll have an interview here or there. We'll see what we can do to just keep you entertained. And along the way, we're going to have to bring up some emotion and make you think. That's what we like to do. So join us here on Sunday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll see you at Wrestle Rage.
Sunday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern here on BeyondRingside.com. Join us for the Midnight Black Mass. Myself, the Reverend Dan Wilson, brings you the dark gospel of professional wrestling, uncensored, unedited, uncut, and not for the faint of heart. You can find out more about us at youtube.com/pottyhumor or subscribe at Potty Humor on iTunes and Stitcher today.
Howdy, friends. This is the Magic City Motor Mouth, Fast Eddie Layne, with your invitation to join yours truly, along with Mark Mabo Bowman and the Oracle of Ominous, the Wicked Nemesis, every Sunday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. Pacific, for Beyond Ringside Live. Wrestling, mixed martial arts, sports talk, and a whole lot more. Keep your eyes open on BeyondRingside.com for all of upcoming show information, and of course, catch us on social media as well. Until then, we'll see you this Sunday, 6:30 Eastern, for Beyond Ringside Live on the Beyond Ringside Radio Network.
And this is Kenny Kip Kennedy, master of Kenny's Kempo Karate.
Hier spricht Tassilo Jung von Western Extreme Wrestling.
This is the Dark Child, Chance Crawford, NWA National Heavyweight Champion. This is the Temptation, Sean Tempers. This is Jacoby Boykins, a.k.a. the Alabama Ambassador, Mr. 256.
This is the Bee's Knees, the Cat Pajamas, and the whole shebang. Johnny Gargano.
This is Bill Behrens, and you're watching, you're listening, you're experiencing Beyond Ringside. And you are a better person for it. Trust me.
Yes, I know that used to be the intro music. And that goes to hour 3. Welcome back into Beyond Ringside, Back to Basics, 5 minutes after the top of the hour. Fast Eddie Layne, live from Studio One, welcoming back in from a partially undisclosed location. Stan Grubb, what's up, brother?
What's going on, everybody?
We do that for a reason around here, because we never know if the NSA is paying that much attention, even though we know the WWE is.
I hope they're not paying attention to me, because that would be creepy.
You know, I had a moment of illumination this past Sunday night and after the pay-per-view. And I'm just going to go ahead and lay it out there like this. And before I do, I want to say this. I want to say a very heartfelt and very special thank you to Evan Ginsberg with Legends TV for coming on during the first hour.
Yeah, sorry about interrupting your conversation there. Sorry, Mr. Ginsberg.
And a very heartfelt and special thank you to Bambi Weavil with Masters of Ring Entertainment for coming on during hour number 2. Tremendous to have both of them back on. Always welcome. Always great to hear from them, because I know there's always something going on. And it's always a hell of a lot of fun.
You know, Eddie, if I could jump in there, and I've said this privately to her, and I know that I'm hoping she hears this. It's important to me for people to know when somebody has a positive impact and helps you to move forward in a good way. You know, we talked about it off the air just in our production chat there a little bit. You know, a couple years ago, there was a point where I wasn't really who I wanted to be, and everything around me fell apart. And one of the people online and through wrestling in general that not one time wavered or even had a hesitation to doubt that I ever saw about what was going to take place next was Bambi Weavil. And she's got to be one of the sweetest people I've ever seen as far as wrestling is concerned, but just as a person. And I mean what I said. It's truly not blowing smoke as far as business acumen, because it's impressive to see the success that she's going through. It's well-deserved, mind you. But the hard work is certainly paying off for her. And it's so cool just to hear the people that she's got coming in. And these are all, as she's pointed out, very real people, but also very hardworking, committed, and driven women who have had a huge impact on wrestling. So from a fan perspective, but also from a personal perspective, I'm very happy to see that play out.
I wish I could be there in person to show support, but I will definitely be there in spirit.
You and me both, brother.
And I'll wait till about midnight Central, which will be at 1 o'clock Eastern, and I'll have a double shot of Cuervo just for her. Silver, 1800, the good stuff, top shelf, super premium.
Doesn't matter if I just drink ice water for that?
That's fine.
Okay, cool.
Because I'll drink ice water before and after, just not during. You know, where my brain was this past Sunday, and Stan, you and I have had this conversation. I made the statement before the pay-per-view that I wasn't even planning to watch it.
I think that's a popular statement that a lot of people made.
Because there didn't seem to be anything that was just jumping out at me. There wasn't something that was just saying, you got to see this.
Oh, you mean like Elimination Chamber that's coming up in 2 weeks?
I've got to see that.
You brought it up earlier, and talking about Kevin Owens and John Cena. First off, how do you put a guy on the map? You let John Cena take a whipping from the guy, and that's what Kevin Owens did.
Mm-hmm.
For him to step on the U.S. title, to just plant John Cena center of the ring and leave him laying, that's a stamp of approval from not just Triple H and Vince, but also from John Cena himself.
Yeah.
To say, yeah, I'll do it. But that's who John Cena is. I mean, that's the guy. What we see on TV for John Cena, I truly believe is John Cena off TV. That's who he is. Yeah, it's amped up maybe a little bit, and I think that maybe that's part of the magic of pro wrestling. But yeah, Elimination Chamber, the card as it's laying out, and it's only 2 weeks away.
Yeah, I know.
People are going to subscribe to the network just to see Kevin Steen or Kevin Owens. See, Eddie, I can do it too. take on John Cena and hopefully win. Now, if he loses, does it matter? Not at all. Not at all. All he's got to do is have a good showing, and who better to go in the ring with than John Cena? I think that's money. I think they could have if they wanted to, and they're smart to not, because they know what it's going to do for the long term. If they wanted to, they could have made this a payback match, and people would have paid to see it.
Agreed. Very much agreed. But let me drill this one out there real quick.
Sure.
The moment that my brain just went, "Hi honey, I'm home." I'm in the garage smoking a cigarette with it's a running gag, so don't take it this seriously, kids. Her.
Were you treating your glaucoma?
No.
Okay, just checking.
Marlboro Light 100s. Even though there's nothing a lie about them, and that's what the package says, that's a lie. But I was smoking a cigarette with, and like I said, here's the running gag, her. Also, Cindy, how you doing? I know you're listening right now, so put the lawn darts down. And then my brain just clicked because I was telling her about the pay-per-view. And I said, the funny thing about it is, I went into the pay-per-view originally not even planning to watch it. I had no care, no concern, no worry in it. I had no emotional investment in it. And then lo and behold, I said the magic words. I had no expectations whatsoever. Ding! Light bulb, 500 watts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you were talking about that with Evan earlier, Mr. Ginsburg, rather. Expectations for wrestling nowadays is ridiculous. The way fans treat it, WWE, if they don't have a WrestleMania caliber event every single pay-per-view, God, the Twitter is just ridiculous to look at. You get to a point where you don't even want to read it. I used to follow ProWrestling.net almost religiously. It was a great website. It still is. I mean, they have good news information there from time to time. But it got to a point where I stopped reading their information because their reviews were so editorial.
Same thing with the Torch.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons that I really don't follow a lot of dirt sheets anymore. Is because of that, because it's not just dirt anymore. Now it's these, opinion pieces when it's supposed to be just tell me the results of the show, just tell me what happened, let me decide for myself. But I mean, expectations are ridiculous nowadays.
And that was the moment that it all clicked, because I didn't have expectations. I went into it totally neutral. Zero weight state, zero positive or negative. It's like, oh, this is going to suck. This is going to be great. Nope. I went in going, let's just watch. And, I feel bad for certain people, whether they be in wrestling and mixed martial arts and boxing and in traditional sports, so to speak, even in the entertainment industry, because the most anticipated movie to this point in the year was The Avengers. Do you think for a second that these people are smoking a fat one and going, God, I hope everybody enjoys it? Because the expectations for that movie were so high.
Too high, actually. Too high.
Here's the thing. I had to apply my own idea to a previous movie, Iron Man 3. Because remember, it was in the precarious position of following Avengers. So the common misnomer from a lot of people was there was going to be a continuation in the storyline of the Avengers in Iron Man 3. And when that did not happen, you had a multitude that were disappointed because that didn't happen. Their expectation was not met. I went back and said, Eddie, you're an old school comic book guy. I've got Iron Man comics. I've got Avengers comics. 9 times out of 10, there's not going to be a crossover unless it's part of a series. This was not scripted to be a part of the series. I went back and took that psychology, that mindset, cleared the head, watched Iron Man 3 again. I like that movie. It's really good. And every time I watch it, I've watched it like 15 times. It keeps getting better. Because I see little things that are done throughout the movie. And I'll do the same thing with the pro wrestling television show. I will go back and watch a match. Because you've heard me expound on situations where I think it was late last year when it was Red Dragon taking on The Addiction. And I just raved about that match and talked about the fact of how Red Dragon, Bobby Fish, and Kyle O'Reilly had evolved into being a great tag team. Because I said it point blank. When they first started teaming up, I'm going, throw together, give it 5 minutes, it's done. And then I paid attention and then I started watching. I watched Kyle O'Reilly. And I watched him get better. I watched Bobby Fish, and I watched him continue to get even better. And then I watched them gel as a tag team and continue to get better as a team and earn the right to be called a true tag team. Not just a tag team, but a real tag team.
Right.
Red Dragon became a tag team. And I'm sitting back going, these guys have mastered the idea and the concept. I love it. No relation to Masters of Ring Entertainment. That's a totally different project, kids. And that's this Saturday, May 23rd in Wilmington, North Carolina. MastersofRingEntertainment.com.
Do you get 50 cents every time you say that?
No, I just want the autographed picture of Ivory.
Well, you better bring some chapstick, brother.
I don't need it. I'm a natural-born suck-up, and I can kiss ass with the best of them. So, Mabo and Corey, take that.
You know, it's interesting. You know, what you bring up is a good point. Sometimes with wrestling, and especially now in the more modern era, the reality era, as Triple H words it, you have to take a step back. You have to you rewind and watch the progress from match 1 to match 50 and see how they've changed. If you look at Nikki Bella, for example, that's a great example of hard work. I mean, look, is she going to be on the level as, you know, AJ and Trish and all of the more accomplished, not to her detriment, but more accomplished than where she is right now? Maybe not. But she has vastly improved over time with the attention she spent on detail in the ring, on how she presents herself on a promo. And it takes studying. It takes learning, not just from what they're doing, but from our perspective as fans, just to watch it. You have to be able to kind of take a step back and I don't want to say suspend disbelief. I don't think that's necessarily the right wording. It's almost as if you've got to be able to learn constantly and become a student of the game. I mean, if you look at a guy like Chris Jericho just talked about the other day, Billy Corgan for Smashing Pumpkins. You know, he's a student of the game. He came from outside of professional wrestling, but that doesn't necessarily matter. The love of the industry itself and what he has been able to bring to the table for Resistance Pro, and now hopefully with what he does with TNA, you know, maybe he's able to kind of pull them out from under the rock that they're on. I hope that he can. As much of a hard time as I give TNA, I would love to see them turn this around.
But see,
and maybe
I've got to say this. They have. And this is the part about it where I get back on my box of Tide or Gain or whichever one is not sponsoring us this week.
That would be all of them.
That would, yeah, pretty much. So that's a pretty damn big soapbox. When Hogan and Bischoff left, and they were able to start getting things back to the focus that needed to be on, you treat the Knockouts division like it's supposed to be treated. Professionals who can work. You treat the tag team division like it's supposed to be treated. Professionals who can work. You treat the X division and the main event division. Professionals who know how to work incredible, culpable storylines that fans can wrap their hearts and their heads around and make the emotional investment to spend the time or their money.
Well, and respectfully, that's where I have to chime in, but that's where they fall short, because there's two problems with TNA's product right now, and one is respect from the management to their talent, because if you truly respect them, you're paying them. Two, the other part of that is you have to respect your fan base, and the one thing that Dixie Carter has not done is been honest with her fan base. She can say what she likes about her talent, and she's got a top-notch roster. I totally agree. You do have some phenomenal matches going on, but if you cannot pay your people, if you cannot respect the business side, everything else will fall apart.
I must say this. The acumen of an entity, individual or group, when it comes to the professional wrestling industry, sport, drink, business, is how everyone perceives the circle.
Okay.
When you surround yourself by intelligent individuals who have a grasp on the situation, who have a clue, you can normally steer the ship in the right direction. When you have someone, i.e. Dixie Carter, at one point in time had nothing to do with the world of professional wrestling, then managed to get her way into the professional wrestling, there have been business, not on air camera, not behind the scenes, but business decisions made by Dixie Carter and those around her that have done nothing more than hurt the company. Look, I'm going to go ahead and do this one real quick, and I'm just going to lay this one out there. It still pisses me off to this day the way things were handled with Taylor Wilde, a Knockouts champion who was being put over at the top tier, who was having to continue to work as a manager in Sunglass Hut because TNA was not paying her enough money. That still makes me mad to this day, that someone who was talented, that they were putting over as their champion in the Knockouts division, wasn't being fairly and appropriately paid for her time and her talent. That is stupidity on the front office of TNA, and Dixie Carter is the flagship of that office, therefore it falls on her shoulders. Because,
well, I agree, but that's because of that, and that's where the today's IWC is unfortunately correct, because she's in charge. The the business itself that she's running is failing. The show might be great, and I have no reason to say that it's not. I really don't have a reason to take away from their talent ever, because they've got a great roster, and they do deserve respect for that, and I try to. The problem that I have is more based off of solely who's in charge and what she's failing to do for her talent, just like you brought up with Taylor Wilde. But, I mean, there's so many other examples. Chris Sabin, AJ Styles, Sting, Kurt Angle for a period. I mean, there's so many top-tier men and women that have been treated poorly by that company.
Oh, God, yes.
And the thing is, you can only do that so much before finally the wheels come off. And she's dying a slow death out there right now. And it sucks, because you want to see an alternative. But guess what? Here's the thing. Fans don't really want to see an alternative. They want WCW back. They want that Monday Night War again. They want the reality era to die and be Attitude again. But even then, if they get that, they're going to be upset that it's not the reality era again.
No, they're not.
You know, I mean, you can't please today's fan base with a product like TNA. It's just not possible. You know, you might please I call them, you know, the Meltzerites, the people that follow Dave Meltzer. You might please them. You might please the ordinary, everyday, average John Q. Public fan, but you're never going to please them both at the same time.
No. I agree wholeheartedly.
I mean, and for all the flack I give the guy on Twitter, I have to point this out. This is where he's correct. A guy named Chill Mascaris has always pointed out, every single time I've seen it, TNA continues to fail in the regard, and this is where WWE fails as well, of paying the proper attention to their fan base and to their talent. Now, in WWE's case, they're big enough and they have enough money where they can hide it and disguise it very well. And WrestleMania shows that every year. You know, TNA, on the other hand, doesn't have that.
I have to say this, but also one of the things that TNA does, and this is something they continue to do, and it really just irks me no end.
Right.
It's the Big Show syndrome. when you have Bobby Roode and Austin Aries and
Oh
Bubba
my
Ray
gosh.
and so many different individuals on the roster. 1 minute they're babyface, the next minute they're heel, the next minute they're face, the next minute they're heel, the next minute they're tween, the next minute they're the Backstreet Boys, the next minute they're NSYNC, the next minute they're One Direction. It's like, can we do and
You know, I didn't think that anybody could rival the amount of heel and face turns that the Big Show had until I watched what Ken Anderson did in TNA.
Yeah.
I mean, holy cow, man.
Bobby
That's
Roode's right there.
And the thing is, he's okay with it. Like, as a performer, yeah, I understand you got to roll with the punches, do what your boss says. I respect that, but come on. At some point, don't you go, hey, wait a second. You know, the fans aren't really going to buy this after a while.
And once again, therein lies the funny part. Because a lot of the times the fans can look past, and I'll sit back and say this from first-person shooter position as well as third-person. I can look past as long as the in-ring product justifies and exemplifies what is happening with the character in the storyline. If you've got a situation, and I love the fact that they now have Austin Aries and Bobby Roode calling themselves the Dirty Heels. Hello. Is there another babyface name that you can put on a tag team? I don't think so.
But the problem with that, though, and this is where wrestling purists are just dying a horrible death, when they call themselves the Dirty Heels, it's like, okay, is kayfabe dead now? And then you go through that same tired, boring debate of kayfabe being dead. And it kills you. It kills what TNA has done with such a great set of guys as far as Aries and Bobby Roode, who, and I think a lot of people know this, I wasn't always a fan of Bobby Roode, but when you see what he's doing the past 3 years, the guy deserves every ounce of credit you can give him. I wish someone would step up. I wish like there was a way that a Paul Heyman or a Shane McMahon could take control of that company and gear it to what it needs to be. I don't know if it'll ever happen. And I don't know if it's even possible to survive that way anymore. But what's ultimately going to happen, and we all know this, this is not a question, it's not a possibility, it's a question of when. TNA will fold, Vince McMahon will pick up the pieces, own their video library, and they will be done. And Global Force Wrestling, maybe they've got an opportunity to pull it together. But if they don't respect what the business has shown them before as far as history and learning from mistakes, Vince McMahon will own them too. Because Vince is just smart enough to stay on the sideline and wait until these smaller companies that are just more ego and money mark than anything else fall. I mean, it's what happened to WCW. It's what happened because, I mean, let's face it, Ted Turner was the biggest money mark we've ever seen.
Oh, God, yes.
Okay. I mean, you see these indie feds, and Sunday, I'll probably go on more at length about it, but I've gotten to a point now where indie promoters make me want to vomit.
Some do.
Because there's some out there that they want the payday, their money marks for themselves, and they want to make sure that everything around their promotion revolves around them, and it drives me nuts. And then you see promotions like Omega and what Q-Ball Carmichael runs and what Peach State is doing and what some of the other folks that are doing that we learn about is along the way, and you see the respect for it. But like a lady like Dixie Carter is a money mark. I mean, she's Ted Turner, just female. Vince McMahon is not. One, he has enough money. He doesn't worry about that. And two, he also knows that this is a business of cycles. And it takes a long time to go from a downswing to an upswing. And that's why he's successful. That's why Triple H in 3 years will be in charge when Vince takes his final, his last hurrah, quote unquote. And WWE will go on for another 50. Because they are strong enough, big enough, and they have enough financial capital and respect in the business world, not just the wrestling world, that they'll survive. And if WWE closed in 10 years from now, their library alone is worth so much, they'll never die. They'll never truly die. And that's the crazy thing. That's what Dixie Carter can't stand, and she tries so hard to say that she's an alternative. She's not. It's not an alternative if you're not available on the same scale. Like the alternative thing that you were asking us about last night.
Yeah.
It's not an alternative if it's not available on a broad scale. Now, because it's on the internet, it's available. It's available in more homes than TNA's Impact.
There you go. And
How
Ring of
sad
Honor.
is that?
And Ring of Honor. And Lucha Underground. And But see, here's the reason why I put this one out there. You have Beyond Wrestling, which Drew Cordero, Denver, Colorado, you still owe me an interview, biatch. And
that was a Full Metal Jacket right there.
Yeah, it was 115 grain, 9mm.
Dang.
From that vantage point, yeah, I know, stooge me twice, biatch. And I know he listens too. Hey, Drew, what's going on, buddy? That's why I use both names, because he does too. I'm not pulling the curtain back, but I appreciate the fact. And look, I've got to lay this out there. You had on consecutive weeks Rawternative put out by Beyond, which had different promotions. Like they'll get a match from Smash. They actually had a match from Chikara last night on that run. 14 matches from different companies. I was happy to see it. Some of the matches were good. Some of the matches sucked. I'm gonna be honest. There were some matches that were 20 minutes that should have gone 10. There were some matches that were 15 minutes that should have been 30. But you have that happen in pro wrestling. There's a human element involved. Right. But I tell people, and they jokingly call it the Rawternative. They're saying, if you're sick and tired of being on Monday Night Raw and you're a wrestling fan, we're going to give you something to enjoy, because we're going to show you the fact that and this has been my mission statement for Beyond Ringside from day FN1. There are alternatives. And it's not just on YouTube. There are companies that run in all 50 states. And you have the opportunity. They may not be 10 minutes down the road. They may be an hour or two away from you. But you get a chance to see the talent that is in different areas of the country working for some of these promotions. And then you have a company that knows what it means to tour like Chikara and ROH. These companies hit the road to go to different parts of the United States to spread the name, spread the word, and spread the love. And when pro wrestling fans sit back and say, and what I like to call the MTFers, Monday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah, no relation to Matt Hardy's old gimmick, but they're the MTFers. They're not pro wrestling fans. They're WWE fans and they're Impact fans. They're not pro wrestling fans. Pro wrestling fans will find a show close to them on a Saturday night, say, ooh, $10, let's go, check it out. That's a wrestling fan. A wrestling fan will go ahead and spend the $25 or $30 or $50 on a pay-per-view and not just sit back and watch free TV. You've spent money on pay-per-views. You've gone to live independent shows. You've gone to live events in different areas. I've gone to and worked them, and you worked them too, and it's just like that. But I'm still a fan of this.
Right.
And I still respect it and appreciate it for what it should be and not what it... Okay, like I said, I respect it for what I know it can be. I respect it for what I know it should be. I don't always respect it for what it is, because sometimes what it is crap. Plain and simple. You have moments, in a lot of the times in WWE, you have moments of brilliance surrounded by hours of futility. In TNA, you have moments of brilliance surrounded by the other hour and 40 minutes of stupidity or futility. I'm not a big fan of the BDC. What I used to call Brovolution. I know I got
Brovolution. Oh my gosh. Oh, by the way.
Yes.
By the way, sir, I heard the replay of Sunday where you talked about the bro birds. You can't say that on the radio, sir.
Address all complaint letters to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C., because they give less of a crap than I do.
I mean, if I send a letter to Obama, I think he might actually respond because of the bro birds.
That was funny. I liked it. Well, I sure as hell wasn't going to call them the blackbirds.
But you just said it. You said it then and you said it here.
I know. I don't care. Because everybody knows that I'm not being serious and I'm not being derogatory and I'm not trying to slam anybody or put them down. I just think it's funny as hell, the fact that, okay, you want to call out the Freebird rule, and guess what? Why not say bro birds? Come on, that's funny. If people can honestly get offended by that, please, for the love of God, go smoke a joint, take a poop, and eat some Fruit Loops, because you need the weed more than I do.
I mean, Mark Henry would get offended.
Mark Henry would not get offended. Mark Henry would be pissed that he didn't think of it.
I don't know. Mark Henry was offended about all sorts of craziness, from people doing skits and YouTube segments. And I mean, now his gripe with Michael Hayes is legit and should have never happened. But I don't know. There's guys out there that take everything to a racial tone.
Well, it's not meant to be serious. It's meant to be humorous.
I'm just picking on you. I'm just trying to
I know. But I'm just going to lay it out there. It was meant to be humorous. It was not meant to be serious. It was not meant to be derogatory, defamatory, inflammatory, or any other Tory that you want to put on there other than Tory Wilson.
Tori Amos?
Yeah, not a big fan.
What?
Not a big fan.
Ugh.
It's like asking me if I'm a fan of Poe, not Edgar Allan.
Hey, careful there.
What?
Edgar Allan Poe is one of my favorite authors.
No, I said Poe, not Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood you. Sorry.
Yeah, Poe had a song called Angry Johnny, or Bjork. It's like, nope.
No, I don't like Bjork. Never have.
I'd rather listen to Celtic Woman. They at least have talent.
I don't want to listen to that either.
They have talent. No, they have talent and harmony. Look, I'm a sucker for harmony, okay? That's why it's like, there's just, I'm sorry. I almost went off on a tangent during the segment with Evan due to the fact that it's like, I listen to some of the stuff that's out there now, and if it weren't for autotune, Britney Spears would retire. If it wasn't for autotune, half the acts that are out there now would retire, and some of them should. And I got criticized because I made the comment that I didn't watch the Billboard Music Awards this past Sunday night because I deliberately wanted to not support, try it again. I deliberately wanted to avoid any possible reference of Swiftler.
Swiftler?
Yes, Hal Swiftler and her blank.
Oh, come on. Now, Taylor Swift is making bank.
I don't care.
Making bank, dude.
I'm just not a fan. I don't like her. I don't care about her. I have no emotional investment. I am apathetic. I am completely and totally ambiguous on that situation. She has no bearing in my life. I'm not a fan of her music. I wasn't a fan when she was in country. I did the Snoopy dance when she left country. And then the ACM still gives her a milestone award. That is such bull crap.
I mean, in today's world, though, entertainment, they give awards for everything, so it doesn't matter.
Hey, I partied for 23 seconds. Can I have a gold medal now? Sure, thank you.
I mean, how can somebody judge art like that anyway? Pearl Jam had the best acceptance speech for a Grammy, where they came up, accepted the Grammy, and said, "I really don't understand how you can judge art." And then they walked off the stage. It was great because it's the truth. I mean, it's expression. It's it's individual, but there's a group now that gives awards for it.
Let's award mediocrity at its finest.
Hey, every kid gets a trophy.
Screw that. I used to work for my trophy. I play hard for my trophies.
I was the guy that used to get upset when I didn't get a trophy, so,
You know what happened when I didn't get a trophy? I busted my ass to get better at what I was doing.
So did I. Amen to that.
And if I didn't get it the next year, I kept working. And then when I finally got that trophy, I sat back and said one thing. How hard do I have to work to get another one?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've had people in my life in radio back in the days of FM and traditional, terrestrial, whatever you want to call it, that when a ratings book would come out and they would see that they're in the top half of the bracketing, I'm radio god. No, you're not. And then if they get to that number 3, number 2, number 1 slot, it's like, I'm radio god and you're not. No, you're not. First thing crosses my mind, if I see the fact that a show that I'm a part of is in the top 3, top 2, or number 1 in the market, it's like, okay, fine, what can we do to get the numbers even higher?
Amen to that.
What can we do to make it that much better to where even more people will listen without alienating the people who are already listening? And yeah, I'm being dead damn serious on that one. Do me a favor. Let me segue for a second because I want to throw this one out there. I'm 23 before the top of the hour on this Tuesday night. Fast Eddie Layne, Stan Grubb, Beyond Ringside, Back to Basics, and Wrestle Rage Radio being represented tonight too. So we'll go in that direction. In less than 2 weeks, for the first time ever, WWE is going to be presenting a tag team elimination chamber. Now, I want to run through these, but Stan, when I finish, I want you to go ahead and remember the little commercial is like, these go great together, but you also had the little stigma about which one of these just doesn't seem to fit. And I think I think you already have the answer in your mind. You have Cesaro and Kid. You have Los Matadores. You have the Primetime Players. You have the Lucha Dragons. You have the Ascension. And you have the Tag Team Champions, the New Day. Stan, what just doesn't seem to be in its proper place?
The Ascension. They don't belong there. I mean that's my opinion. The Matadors don't really belong there either. They're kind of a joke. They haven't won legitimately in Lord knows how long. I mean, they had the WLC thing. I think that's the highlight of their career so far.
Yep.
And that's it stinks because they're paying the price for Carlito's poor performance. And that's not his fault or their fault. It's just how it rolls out when they get looked at for further exposure and maybe a push. I'm positive somebody goes, yeah, I don't know. I remember what that Carlito guy did, and somehow they just get shifted right back down the line. They're talented guys, but they really don't belong there, and neither do the Ascension.
If it was Primo and Epico in this match, I would sit back. I wouldn't be saying anything right now. But because it's a gimmick such as Los Matadores, which has never really gotten over with the fan base, with the WWE Universe.
Hey, here's a question.
Sure.
With the New Day, everybody was mad because they thought it was a racist gimmick. It should be insulting to black people.
Should be insulting to everybody.
Right, except for the fact that, they're actually talking a positive message. But, never mind that. The Matadors. Why is the Hispanic community not upset about this? It's making fun of the Mexican and Latin American people. It's depicting them in a comedic fashion. Why are people not upset about this?
I cannot answer that question because I don't know.
It's just something I noticed. It's just like when LAX was out. People didn't pitch a fit about that.
Because LAX was badass.
True, but they were stereotypical.
Doesn't matter. They were badass. Look, I'm going to sit back and say this 100%. I'm going to say this without any fear of reprisal. If you put together a team or a faction based on an ethnicity and put them over as a badass or well-educated or good team, no one says a damn word. But if you make it look like a joke or make it look derogatory or make it look inflammatory, there's your two Tory references again. Hi, Tori Wilson. I still like you. And I've never stalked you before in your life. Or mine either. But if you make it look like that, if you make it look like a joke, then people will get up in arms at the drop of a hat 9 times out of 10. But once again, if you make it look credible, believable, and yes, I'll use the word again, badass, people won't say a negative word about it. Look, you have people like me who remember the fact that Ron the Truth Killings is a 2-time National Wrestling Alliance World Heavyweight Champion. Please tell me the last major championship that R-Truth has held.
Intercontinental title, U.S. title, tag team titles.
The last major title he held, and how long has it been?
Let's see. The tag titles was a couple years ago. U.S. title was a year and a half ago.
And he stole the Intercontinental belt.
Oh, that's right. He didn't actually hold it. My bad.
It's okay. So, I have a problem with the R-Truth character because of the fact that I do feel it is a very stereotypical gimmick.
At least that's a legit at least that's a legit thing as far as a concern. Not like, nobody got upset about Crime Time, which bothered me.
Crime Time was built-in comedy.
But it was depicting an African American in the same fashion that R-Truth does.
No, not necessarily, because they called themselves Crime Time and spelled it with a damn Y. It was not supposed to be... Okay, it was supposed to be a parody of... here comes this everybody's favorite word again. The thug lifestyle, or the thug look, without being thugs. They were acting thug-ish in a comedic sense. Even when they were heel, they were never really that much of a... And there's that word even when they were heel, they weren't that heel. They were heel, but they weren't that heel. And when they went babyface, it's kind of like the crowd got right behind them because they were doing stuff that was popular with the crowd and everybody could make the investment.
Right. See, I get to a point now, and I think Ron Killings is a great example. He is an accomplished performer in the business in general, Drink. So his success in WWE, it's minor compared to what he's experienced and succeeded with in the business in general. Drink again. You don't have that with guys like Kofi Kingston and Biggie Langston. You do have it with Xavier Woods. You don't necessarily have it with Shad Gaspard and JTG, but you may have had it with a guy like Ahmed Johnson when he was at his prime. But even Ahmed Johnson, with the Nation of Domination gimmick, was put into that stereotypical role. When you put stereotypes out there in front of the entire world, you're going to be attacked for it. But to me, it's not necessarily not having a problem with the stereotype. It's all stereotypes, because that's really the issue. When you start putting labels to it, that's when it becomes a problem.
Very
How
true.
we got from talking about the Elimination Chamber to racism, I don't know.
Welcome to Beyond Ringside. Better yet, I'll give you what I do for the show open. Welcome to Back to Basics, where everything is on the table and nothing is off the record. Yeah. Let's shift it for a second. Both of us watched it. Let's take a look. Let's scan through it real quick. Pre-show match for Payback. R-Truth versus Stardust. Personally, I enjoyed the match. They kept a good pace. They kept a good psychology involved. And I'm not really going to use the word psychology that much, but they kept it credible. They kept it believable. And they kept it fun. I enjoyed the match.
Disappointing to see Stardust come up short. It's nice to see R-Truth get a victory, of course, but I'm a Killings fan. I've liked him since he was in TNA. I do feel bad for Cody Rhodes in that regard, though. I think he does deserve to be in a better exposure, and maybe it's just a matter of time, but it wasn't a bad match. No, not at all.
The Ascension took on the Meta Powers, Macho Mandow, and that's just funny. That was funny. I enjoyed it. The Ascension needed to go over in that circumstance. I don't care. I thought it was a fun match to watch.
It was funny. I didn't realize that that Curtis Axel would go full Hogan and shave off his beard and do the mustache, but it was pretty good. I like how they played it up. I liked seeing the Ascension go over. It's long overdue.
Yeah.
And I'm not against the Ascension. I just don't think they're ready for what they're going to experience in the Elimination Chamber, because this is where they should actually come out on top, and it's just they haven't been primed for it. They're not ready.
Sheamus taking on Dolph Ziggler. This match could be a main event on any Raw or SmackDown period, because these two, I mean, oh my God, with Ziggler's head getting popped, wow. Take it one step further, and they didn't bleep everything out, and they didn't stop the match. Fortunately, it was over. But by the same token, I thought that Sheamus gave a better account for himself in this match than he has for a while. Ziggler has gone back and forth as far as being up and down, and in this particular match, I think he actually showed all over again why the investment should still be on his the ball should still be in his hands.
I agree. Dolph Ziggler is grossly underutilized, but also underrated in my opinion. I think he's one of the best workers they have on that roster. Sheamus, unfortunately, keeps falling short with his matches with Ziggler, and it's not for lack of effort. I just don't know that he can keep up. And that's not going to work out for him in the long run. That's one of the reasons we see so many pushes for him stall out, because he just can't keep pace. I think he runs out of steam and gets bored, much like Rusev, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Okay, 2 out of 3 fall match for the WWE Tag Team Championships. Not titles, championship, kids. Get the words right, okay? Kid and Cesaro got the rematch against the New Day. I think they played this one right. And when it comes down to it and everything is said and done, I think the ending of it, they're using twin magic. Not bad. It's different. It's something that you haven't really seen before other than back in the days of the Killer Bees. So, and they took that to a different level. I think the action was consistent. Everything was in place. I have nothing negative to say about this match. I think they did it right.
Oh, yeah. New Day as bad guys is exactly where they need to be. I think Cesaro and Tyson Kidd are probably looking at the last 6 to 8 months of their run in WWE, which is unfortunate, but one, Cesaro's never going to get any further than where he's at right now, and that's not his fault. WWE just doesn't know what to do with a guy like him. Tyson Kidd has never gotten the respect that he deserves as a performer. Part of that comes from the fact that he's related to the Hart family, and WWE just seems intimidated by Hart family and Hart Dungeon graduates.
Ryback Bray Wyatt. I expected, okay, there's that word. I hoped for a little bit more in this match because Ryback has been on a good run and seems like he's a little bit more comfortable in certain roles, and I think Bray Wyatt has just got it to the nth degree. And like I said, it wasn't a bad match by any stretch of the imagination. I just think there could have been more to it.
Yeah, I would agree. Not a bad match, not Ryback's worst match at all. I think he had a great showing. Bray Wyatt continues to over-deliver and under-promise, which is good. I think the problem we're going to see here real soon is they're running out of people to feed to both guys. And when you get into that problem, that's when one guy gets overlooked or both guys get overlooked. That's what happened to Bray Wyatt in his feud with Cena. That's what happened with Ryback in his feud with Punk. You're running out of room. You got to find something to do with these guys.
I think that they honestly, and this would be almost a good time to go ahead and to trigger Silver, Scout, Seattle Slew. Yeah, let's beat a dead horse. I'd rather see the roster split come back and restore prominence to SmackDown and put everything back the way it used to be, to split up the title, bring back the WWE title, and bring back the World Heavyweight title, and let everything split up, and that way you could actually have a little bit more diversity as far as who does what where.
You could do it, but I don't think there's enough focus. I don't think they've ever had the focus to truly split the brands. That's why they could always do. They couldn't call it the SmackDown title. They had to call it the World title.
Yeah.
You truly want to separate them. You make them their own entities and their own brands. You start by doing that in efforts to not intermingle the brands. That's what you have to do.
I think it
back
should
in the
be
day when
bragging.
they first did it, that was the way to do it.
You have one pay-per-view called Bragging Rights, and you let them go there, and you let them go at WrestleMania or possibly even Survivor Series.
And that's it, exactly.
Or Royal Rumble. I mean, because they did it right on Rumble. You could challenge for your respective title, either one. And I think that added to it. But I think that's why I would love to see the roster split come back and put everything back in place, because I think the Authority is a dated concept. I think Triple H and Stephanie have been doing it to a great degree because of not bringing in somebody else for the general manager position, although, there's some people I'd love to see do it. But I'm honestly at a point right now where I feel, and with all due respect, I think the Authority is a dated concept, or at least this incarnation of it is. Speaking of Cena Rusev, U.S. title, I'm going to sit back and say this. I had because of the fact that I had made the statement that WWE's painted themselves into a corner. And lo and behold, you have the situation in play where I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt Cena was going to go over. Everybody was on the bandwagon that it was going to be Lana to throw in the towel, pull the Arnold Skolin and Bob Backlund from back in the day. And I'm just even knowing these things in play, Cena's the man who never says quit, never give up. That's what the towel says, and they make a fortune on that damn thing. When it all comes together and everything is said and done, the only thing I didn't like about this match was there was no suspense. You knew what was going to happen. You knew in your gut what was going to happen, even if you didn't read the dirt sheets. There was the friction between Lana and Rusev that has been there for the last few weeks. There is the fact that Cena doesn't give up. There's the fact that Rusev, a lot of people are saying, was becoming disgruntled and laid back and a little bit passive about his role. He was being painted into a corner. With everything, they put him over the world's largest athlete. They put him over the world's strongest man. They put him over so many different characters, and yet he falls to Super Cena. Fans were pissed. And they've kept the storyline alive up through this past Sunday. I'm glad to see it's going to go bye-bye. It's a 3 and done. Thank you. But as far as it goes with the match, it's better than what I would have imagined, with the exception of the fact of Kyoto and that damn microphone every 3 seconds. Do you quit? Do you want to give up? Do you want to say I quit? It's like, dude, the microphone and you are not the star of the show. The talent is the star. That Kyoto, love him to death, great guy. Hell of a ref. He is the WWE's Tommy Young. Look it up, kids. But I honestly have to sit back and say that it was way too many times asking if he wanted to quit. Stan?
They presented the match in the right frame of mind. I understand that there's some fans upset with Cena winning, but there's always some fans that are upset with Cena winning. I think what Rusev is going to find out now is how he truly is as a performer. Because you've seen two different types of approaches to guys that finish a feud with Cena. You know, in Bray Wyatt's case, it took him some time to rebound, but when he did rebound, I mean, let's face it, he had a heck of a match with The Undertaker.
Yes.
Going into that, we weren't sure.
Very true.
Guys like Seth Rollins and Randy Orton and Daniel Bryan, those guys found ways to be successful after Cena, even if they lost. So you know that it's possible. I think, and this is unfortunate, but I think Rusev is his own worst enemy. You can tell he was disengaged from the beginning of his promo, or not his promo, but his program with Cena. He just wasn't interested. You can tell that because there's a lack of like a hunger. Maybe because he knew how it was going to end. That makes sense. I'd be frustrated too. But the problem with that is the fact that he was put over the Big Show and Mark Henry and Jack Swagger. What you have to remember about those guys, with the exception of the Big Show for most of that, is that Mark Henry and Jack Swagger were mid-card level at best. And the Big Show is the Big Show. I mean, you can't take anything away from the guy, but at some point you have to call a spade a spade.
Yeah, but they were all individuals that had been put over as world champion or WWE champion at one point in time.
Very true, but at the same point, what you have to remember is a guy, a monster heel like that, is going to have to be toppled by only a top-tier talent. And John Cena is the only guy that they have capable in the face role to do that. Jack Swagger couldn't pull it off. Mark Henry couldn't pull it off. The Big Show couldn't pull it off, and that was because of the fan reaction.
Oh, and God, don't forget Big E Langston, former national powerlifting champion.
Big E Langston had the best match with Rusev 2 months in a row, and not only did he not get any reward for it, but Rusev didn't get chastised for it, and Rusev was the one blown up. You don't get to be that size and get to have an off night. It's just not okay. And when you look at The Undertaker, how many times have you ever seen The Undertaker blown up? You could probably count it on 2 fingers.
True.
Big Show, probably one hand. Mark Henry, not so much.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, when you're that size in the WWE, in the land of giants, you'd better be able to keep pace. And that's not a benefit right now for Rusev, because he can't. He's going to suffer the same fate that Sheamus does and see his push continue to fizzle until he either steps up his game and keeps pace or does the job of a true heel and take over in the ring and slow it down and make it work to his advantage. That's what guys like Randy Orton do, and I hate Randy Orton as a heel, not for the character. I just think he's boring. He works better as a face. I heard you say it on Sunday that you think he's better as a heel.
He is.
You know, tomato, tomato.
There you go.
It's to me, at the end of the day, Rusev is his own worst enemy. John Cena has nowhere to go except away from this feud as the champion because he's got to put someone else over. And he will. I have a feeling that even if it's not Kevin Owens right now, we may end up seeing a huge changing of the guard before next year's WrestleMania.
Actually, I think we have seen a huge changing of the guard because look at where all 3 members of the Shield are now.
I mean, they've been main eventing for over a year.
Yeah, I know. And you don't get there by accident.
No way.
Bella Twins, Naomi and Tamina, I did not watch it. I went outside to smoke a cigarette.
Here's the problem with the Bella Twins versus Naomi and Tamina. Naomi is boring. I'm sorry. There's a lot of fans out there that love Naomi and say she's this, that, and the other. No, she's not. She's really, really not. She has... her finish is a butt to the face. Folks, if people can get upset for Rikishi being inducted into the Hall of Fame when his claim to fame was a butt to the face, there's a problem here. Naomi is talented. She has improved, but she's not as good as everybody blows her up to be.
Right.
The fact that people were complaining that she didn't go over in this, that way, or the other, no, it's not her time. Maybe she needs another year or two. Nikki Bella and Brie Bella right now are writing out the end of their contracts. They're going to continue to get put over as long as they're able to outsell and merchandise for the women. That's just how it is. That's where John Cena was for a while. That's where they are right now. I do agree with the Brie mode thing. I think that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I mean, I kind of wondered, is she just not in a mode when she gets to the ring? I mean, it's just dumb. But
ask Daniel Bryan.
You'd have to ask him a lot of questions.
There you go. There's a lot I'd like to ask. Let me throw this one out there real quick. First, let me hit the reset. It is 10:59 Central, 11:59 Eastern Time, right here on Beyond Ringside Back to Basics. Fast Eddie Layne, Stan Grubb on this Tuesday night thing. Thank you to everybody listening in through BeyondRingside.com, the Beyond Ringside radio app, TuneIn radio app, Ustream, Shoutcast, Win app, all the different methodologies that are available. And of course, be sure to keep your eyes open on the media page at BeyondRingside.com for links to previous episodes and shows from all of the broadcast here on the Beyond Ringside family of shows. I want to lay this one out there real quick. There was no other way that this match could have ended at Payback other than by countout, and I'm talking about King Barrett versus Neville. If Neville goes over, you've got Barrett, who would sure as hell be a momentum breaker in a lot of ways. If you put Barrett over by pinfall over Neville, disqualification would have worked too, but you want to do things in a methodology, in a manner that's going to help somebody maintain the integrity of their character and the storyline. And I think the count out with Barrett walking away going, you're not worth it, I think actually helped. I think that was the right thing to do. The match itself was good. It wasn't great, but it was a damn good match. Stan?
I think only time will tell. I mean, it's clear they have a vision for Adrian Neville. And I think this stupid dropping of the first names thing drives me nuts.
It doesn't sound masculine enough.
Oh my god. Anyway, I don't know why they do it. It's just so stupid. If that's truly the reason, then somebody in creative needs their head knocked off. But I agree, Barrett winning would have hurt Neville in the long run. Neville winning, as far as a pinfall win, would kind of derail what they have planned for Barrett. I don't mind a count out. I do mind it on a pay-per-view. I think that's kind of lame. But, not every match can be a clean finish, and if you got the bad guy, he's got to try to find some way to make people hate him more. It did the job. I wish it would have been a little bit more time, because I know that they can deliver in a big, big way. Not their best outing, but it certainly wasn't horrible.
And the Fatal 4-Way for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, Ambrose, Orton, Reigns, and Rollins. I'm just going to sit back and say the entire match itself was pretty much outshone due to the factor of the triple powerbomb heard around the world. Because there was not an ass in any chair anywhere watching the second that they put together that triple powerbomb.
I had heard rumbling that they were thinking of doing a heel Shield reunion, where people were talking about turning Ambrose and turning Reigns and having them be as part of the Authority. You guys talked about it on Sunday. The 4-way match, for one, was good. Yeah. Not bad at all. I was actually impressed to see how long it went and how exciting it was with all four guys. I don't like the continuous tease of a turn with Kane. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't care about it enough to really be too concerned about it, but it just doesn't make sense. The triple powerbomb, the spot itself, there was not a quiet person in the building, nor a person sitting down. Every single person wanted to see it. For me, what I liked the most out of it was the aftermath when Seth Rollins tried to play it off, and Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns looked at him like, "What do you mean we?" And that was it. It was beautiful. So they planned that one out really well. I don't think... And I know that they took away his finish. I think they were worried about the concussion aspect of the curb stomp, which makes sense because it's a spot where you go face first into the ground. They need to find a finish for Seth Rollins fast, because as world champion, you better have a finish that everybody wants to see. And I think people will sour to the aspect of seeing the pedigree, and it's not Triple H. And I think people will sour to see yet another DDT finish. Oh, and just a side note. It's time to take the DDT out of the setup move equation. Dolph Ziggler delivers an awesome DDT, and it always gets a 10 or a 2 count. That makes no sense to me. Steve Austin is absolutely correct. The DDT is not a setup move; it is a finish.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%, Jake Roberts. The man who made it a household word, damn devastating terror.
Amen to that.
The match itself, the Fatal 4-Way, was very good. It was it's put it this way, I replayed it. I watched it again because I enjoyed it. The entire show, I'm going traditional school grading system, and I'm legitimately going to give it a solid B. If it had not been for the fact, and I'm just going to sit back and assume based on what I've heard and read, that the Divas tag match was not good. I'm going to assume that. And that's bad of me. I'm not going to get, I would, if that match had not been on the card, I would probably give it an A-. If not a solid A. I'm just going to lay it out there like that. But because of the fact that they continue to ram matches such as this Divas tag match with, I'm sorry, you're right, Nikki Bella has come a long way. Yes, folks, you're hearing me say this. At 11:04 p.m. Central Time, you're hearing me say this. Nikki Bella has come a long way.
Oh, yeah.
Brie Bella is still not good.
I used to think she was the more talented of the two, but I have to agree with you.
Well, I'm beginning to think that if the butt look, talent cannot be sexually transmitted, nor can it be implanted, boobs and butt.
Oh.
Unless you're
Do you
working.
think Cena paid for those?
Probably Vince.
No, I think Cena probably did. I think he likes them like that.
And whereas Nikki has Kmart curves, poor Brie is looking like something you'd find at the thrift store.
All those curves and me with no brakes.
I like that one. Very nice.
Jerry Lawler taught that one to us.
Yeah, he did. Lawler's cool as hell. Your overall grade for the pay-per-view?
I'd definitely give it a strong B, maybe a B+. Thank you, Stephanie McMahon. It's a solid show. Don't know that I would have paid $50 for it.
I wouldn't have.
I'm grateful I didn't. But at the same time, they really didn't promote the show well enough to sell the pay-per-view. They're selling the Elimination Chamber better than Payback, and it's only going to cost $10.
Therein lies the rub because of the situation in play. I've just got to put everything in perspective and say, you know something, this was time where I'll sit back and say $9.99 well spent.
Well, I think it also falls to the fact that they're finally doing what they should have did when they first rolled it out. Okay, no more pay-per-view. We're going to the network only. If you want to see our show, you're going to have to get the network. And eventually they should do this with Raw and SmackDown.
No. WWE will die a flaming death if they take all their programming and bring it to the network.
I don't think we're too far from seeing it. If you look at what you're getting for the network, now when the price point changes, totally different conversation. But at $10 a month, I'd pay it.
Yeah.
Come on, what else is out there?
Lucha Underground and Ring of Honor.
Okay, so let's say Lucha Underground gets a worldwide distribution platform.
I will applaud.
I would watch it on a weekly basis. I already watch it on a weekly basis, but I'd probably watch it live. The point is, it helps the business to pull WWE into the network itself. It helps WWE to go to the network itself. But here's the flip side of that.
Out of sight, out of mind.
That's right. With them off TV, you have to force an alternative to TV. And it's not going to be TNA. It's not going to be GFW, at least not for at least a couple years, unless they fizzle out quicker than we think. I mean, it's going to have to be Lucha or New Japan. Ring of Honor can't seem to pull it together because Sinclair doesn't want to put the money in. I mean, they've been on Sinclair, they've got the distribution, but they don't have they have the content, but they don't quite have the distribution.
Correct.
Thank you, Paul Heyman. If you don't have a delivery method for what your product is, you're not going to be successful. That's why Lucha is successful. because they have a very grassroots delivery method, and it works every single time.
I'm going to take us in 2 words. Actually, I'll make it 4 words. Stan Grubb, last call.
Oh, wow. First and foremost, let me just say that I am very sorry that I was not on Sunday. Totally my fault. I had no idea where my laptop was. I hate calling in from my phone. I do hate it. And Corey gets mad at me about it. He's got a right to. But I think I sound awful on my phone, so I'd rather not do it like that. So with that being the case, I am looking forward to being back on the air this Sunday. I'm grateful that you let me hang out tonight, by the way. It's nice to be able to plug the headset in and make sure everything's working, which was really my only goal. But I really enjoyed just sitting in and just hanging out. And of course, talking to Bambi is always a treat. I appreciate everything she does for wrestling. And it was cool to listen to Evan Ginsberg. That was really a good interview, just to listen to him talk about not just wrestling, but music and everything else. So that was pretty neat.
Actually, the original interview that I did with Evan is, I believe, still, you can definitely find it on the media page at BeyondRingside.com, but I think it is still on the Podomatic feed as well. I don't think it's on the Spreaker feed, but I think it is still definitely on the Podomatic feed. But like I said, keep your eyes open on the media page at BeyondRingside.com, and I have made an adjustment and a change up over on that media page. I have started to move some of the anything 2014 and beyond is now on a different page.
Okay.
So I got to make sure to have that linked up. I'm going to go back and double check later tonight or tomorrow. I've just got so much I got to get done. I've got 3 weeks worth of podcasts for my church that I've got to finish up. Special hello to my friends and family down at Lakeview United Methodist here in Pelham, Alabama. Get a shameless plug for God.
Can it be a shameless plug for God?
This is me you're talking to. Ask that question again, please.
Amen.
Ask that. Yeah, really. And all God's children said amen. Throw the plug for the show real quick.
Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, myself and Corey will be on the air live. I believe he's got his internet back up and running, so we'll be live and in Memorex or something like that. Of course, we'll be talking about Elimination Chamber. We'll probably talk a little bit about the pay-per-view. Yes, we're most certainly going to be talking about Kevin Owens and his stellar Monday Night Raw debut. Really, we're going to talk about that, and we're probably going to get into a few different things that have been on both mine and Corey's mind, especially when it comes down to the business in general, but just personal stuff. We're 2 human beings. We got stuff going on, so we want to make sure we share it with the world, and that's kind of where we're at.
Keep your eyes open on BeyondRingside.com as well as all the different apps that we have available. That way you can keep track of exactly what's going on. But I tell you what I'm going to do. I'll give you the rundown right now. Wednesday, May 20th, the To Be Determined show returns 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time. Join the Oracle of Ominous, the Wicked Nemesis, the Grand Design Clyde Braddock, Angie Travis, and special guest panelist this week will be Mark Mabo Bowman, as in addition to me in the producer's chair. I wasn't really going to say that, but I decided to anyway. What the hell? Because this week on the To Be Determined show, we're going to be doing a Secret Origins episode. How it all began for each of us as fans and getting into it. So tune it in tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, the To Be Determined show.
Hey, special shout out to Wicked Nemesis for stepping in the ring.
Oh,
proud of that guy.
Hell yeah, you should do it more often.
Amen. Too big to not be in there.
Yeah, unfortunately, he did lose the title.
Yeah, he got gypped. He got ripped off.
Yes, he did. Also, want to go ahead and remind everybody that at this point in time, Sunday, the 24th, the trifecta, I believe, is back. Beyond Ringside Live, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 Central, 3:30 Pacific. Hold on. I stopped about saying something because I wasn't quite positive, but I'm going to go and lay it out there. Thursday, May 21st, 9 p.m. 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central, 7 Pacific. The show with Ted Guinness should be returning this week to Beyond Ringside Sports Radio. All things WWE and a little bit more. So with everything going on, whether it be on Payback, whether it be Raw, whether it be NXT Unstoppable tomorrow night, there's going to be a whole lot of things. And of course, Ted will be opening up the phone lines for you to sound off as well. That's Thursday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central, 7 Pacific. The Show with Ted Guinness. When SmackDown goes off the air, that's when the show goes on. Now, coming back over to the 24th, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, Beyond Ringside Live. 9 p.m. Eastern, Wrestle Rage Radio with Mark Rage and Stan. And unless otherwise, I do believe the Midnight Black Mass will be returning this week at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. So like I said, definitely check it out. For everybody listening live this evening, thank you through all the different apps we have available. For everybody listening on the replay side of life, like I said, thank you for checking us out every way that is out there, whether it be on iTunes, Podomatic, Stitcher, Spreaker. I know I'm missing something. Oh, yeah, iHeartRadio. Check us out on the show's page on iHeart. And for everybody who's been subscribing, thank you. We do appreciate it. But definitely the media page at BeyondRingside.com. We've got the full listing up there, a lot of previous episodes, so we hope you check it out. Want to say a very special thank you to Evan Ginsberg. Like I said, Legends Radio, Legends TV, former the associate producer for the movie The Wrestler. Always great to have Evan on. Going to have him back on probably in the month of June. We're going to work on the timetable because we just talk about a little bit of everything. A little bit of wrestling, a little bit of music, maybe a little bit of movies, maybe comic books. You never know. And a lot about Legends TV because he's got a great product going on. Check it out. Also, once again, special thank you, Bambi Weavil with Masters of Ring Entertainment. This Saturday in Wilmington, North Carolina is going to be an absolutely magical day. The Coastline Convention Center, 501 Nutt Street in Wilmington, North Carolina. Hang on, let me see. Oh, okay, that's an old message. I'm sorry. Check out mastersofringentertainment.com. They're going to have all the information and damn sure get your tickets. Get them quick, get them early, and show up for the event early because it's going to be worth every second. Folks, going to call it a day here at the Radio Ranch. Thank you for hanging out. Stan, thank you for hanging out. Great to have you on board.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I love listening to you on my way home when I'm driving home from work. And I got to tell you what, man, I'm working on something, and I've got a plan. So I'm trying to put it together. I'll be sharing more as I go.
Oh, and let me run these down real quick before we get away for the evening. Once again, for me personally, FastEddieLayne.com, at Fast Eddie Layne, Layne on Twitter and Instagram, LinkedIn, Google+, all of the above. This coming Friday night, I'll be back with Buffalo Wild Wings in Alabaster, 9 p.m. local time start time. This coming Saturday, May 23rd, I'll be back with Jake's Southern and Caribbean Cafe. The chicken and waffles are good, dude. The jerk wings are really good, too. And the sweet potato casserole, out of this world. Kicking it off at 7 o'clock p.m. Karaoke contest, $125 prize to the winner at 9 p.m. And, of course, I want to remind everybody, in our home market of Alabama, and, of course, over in Georgia as well, Saturday, May 30th. Global Championship Wrestling, Global Warfare 2015. 12 men involved, 2 teams of 6, War Game style, cage elimination match, and a whole lot more. Check out gcwpro.com for all the information. And thank you to everybody who's been checking out the ITV product. Greatly appreciated. We're out the door, hitting the floor, and I'm going back to get me another glass of apple juice because I've been dry for the last 30 minutes. Because I got to go brew tea. Apple juice is already in the jug. Thank you again, Evan Ginsberg. Thank you again, Bambi Weavil. For Stan Grubb.
Remember, folks, only you can prevent forest fires.
I got a bear hug from Smokey. This is the Magic City Motor Valve Fast Eddie Layne saying adios, das vidania, hasta luego, auf Wiedersehen, ciao, sayonara, adieu, arrivederci, farewell, abasinia, au revoir, and until we meet again, aloha means bye-bye. Join us right here next time as we all go beyond ringside. And yeah, sometimes you just got to take it back to basics. Bye for now.